76. With Yui Changsuan in charge, no warrior dared to step forward. By the time the ninjas of Ishida's family came to the gate, the huge suspension bridge had been put away, and the tens of meters high city wall made people's scalps feel numb. It seems that some people still don't want us to take down the Iron Country. Ishida Sorikari sneered, looking at the Injiao warriors holding their longbows ready to go. Patriarch. Ishida Mifune has met the Patriarch. At this time, Mifune, who was originally on the city wall, saw the figures of the clansmen taken away by his father, and knew that the battle between the Ishida family and Miyamatagawa was over, so he jumped off the city wall early and came to the Ishida family. That is, Miyamoto Admiral's confidant, Mifune. He is from the Ishida family? Looking at Mifune, he respectfully gave Ishida Kakari the clan's gift. He was taken aback immediately and said in a bit of astonishment. Some people speculate that these three boats may become the most accomplished swordsmen in the history of the Iron Kingdom in the future, but they did not expect to be members of the Ishida family. Aren't they a ninja family? There are even swordsmen? 01 a samurai couldn't help saying sourly. But when he saw the figure of Changsuan Yui next to Ishida Kakari, he immediately fell silent. He just remembered that not only swordsmen, other warriors can beat Admiral of the Iron Kingdom with one move. You are the son of Dadong. You can call me uncle. Yes, you are worthy of the name of the three boats, and you have not fallen into the prestige of the Ancestor. Even Ishida Xinkai had to admit that the Mifune in front of him, who was smaller than Meimeng's friend, was not weaker than the surrounding warriors, and even the Chunin servants he had brought with him probably didn't have any of them. Its opponent. Through the mouth of Ishida Dadong, Ishida Xinkai also knew that in order not to lose the prestige of Ishida's ancestors, Mifune ordered the most elite children of each generation to be called Mifune and go out to sharpen them. Ishida Dadong is the third generation of Sanfune, and this one has already it is the fourth generation. Uncle Patriarch praises it. The defense on the city wall has been taken over by the servants of the Miyamoto family. They are the most loyal and powerful members of the Miyamoto family. Any one of them is a strong warrior. Even if Miyamoto is dead, they will not give up guarding the palace. My family, Mifune thanked modestly, then pointed to the well-equipped silver-armored warriors on the city wall and said, Master Patriarch, leave it to me. As soon as Mifune's voice fell, Ishida Meimeng was about to make a move, but Changsuan Yui, who was next to him, had already stepped forward. What else does he want? The warriors of the Iron Kingdom watched from a distance, curiously looking at Changsuan Yui, who was hunched over and posing in a slashing posture. Others back away quickly. Looking at the posture of Changsuan Yui, Ishida Sorikari remembered that guy's move just now. His expression changed immediately, and he quickly said to everyone in Ishida's house. A group of ninjas did not hesitate and quickly pushed behind Changsuan Yui. Seeing the serious appearance of everyone in the Ishida family, the samurai of the Iron Kingdom was taken aback again. Advertisement, could it be that sword energy from before? Suddenly, a warrior exclaimed. After that, he hurried away from the city wall and fled to the side. Others also reacted. One by one frantically fled in all directions, and many smart people chose to stand far behind Ishida's house. The warriors on the city wall all looked dignified, and they also saw the power of the sword energy just now. At the same time, because the Ishida family was close to the city wall, the warriors on the city wall also aimed all the muzzles and heavy kunai launchers at the Ishida family members below the city. A mission. With the order of the samurai with the family crest of Miyamoto's bamboo and sakura flowers on the most central arm, numerous shells were ejected from the muzzle, and at the same time, heavy kunai the size of door panels were also released with non-emitting crystals. The samurai in the distance looked at the cannonballs and the siege kunai in horror. They were not ninjas and could not release earth-style to block them. Facing such intensive attacks, none of them could survive. At the same time, Changsuan Yui also moved. Whoosh! The double dragon phantom sword was pulled out in an instant. An ultimate sword intent was also fused with Yui Changsuan's chakra and thrown out, turning into a huge crescent arc. This time the growth speed and flight speed of the arc light are far faster than before. In an instant, the arc of sword energy covered the front and sides of Yui Changsuan. The warriors on the side were so frightened that they quickly fell to the ground, but the people on the city wall couldn't avoid it. The sword energy sank into the city wall, and then rushed out from the inside. Immediately afterwards, a silver line appeared from the middle of the city wall. The warriors below saw that the 50-meter-high city wall seemed to be slashed obliquely in the middle, and the upper city wall began to slide down. The warriors above immediately began to flee nervously. But Changsuan Yui didn't intend to end like this. I saw Changsuan Yui stepped on his feet, jumped up, and held the sword in both hands at the same time, slashing continuously in midair, chopping, sweeping, and picking. Others could hardly watch Yui Changsuen's movements. They could only watch for a moment, as if dozens of hundreds of sword chi condensed in front of him. In the end, Yui Changsuen began to fall, and he also took advantage of the situation to make a final slash, and those sword chi finally rushed out quickly. Although they flew out one after another, but because the interval was extremely short and the speed was very fast, it was as if they flew out at the same time. Those sword chi crashed into the city wall in an instant, and the silver-armored warriors above, who were already panicked and out of balance, couldn't stop them at all. They were all cut in half, and then the sword chi sank into the city wall. The originally slumped city wall began to be shattered by the countless sword chi in the air. Flesh and bricks were mixed with dust, and it looked like hell on earth. Only then did the warriors below truly realize the ferocity of the unknown warrior. 77. The walls of the city are broken, and this time no one can stop the footsteps of Ishida's family. Even though the members of the Miyamoto family want to resist, they are not the opponents of the more than 200 Ishida family ninjas. Although they are the relatives of the ancestors of the Ishida family, the Miyamoto family has always regarded it as a disgrace. Keep your hands, and all members of the Miyamoto family will be executed on the spot. With Changsuan Yoromo sitting in town, all the samurai in the capital of the Iron Kingdom surrendered. Under the suggestion of Changsuan Yui, Mifune became the admiral of the Iron Country from Mifune, and worshipped Changsuan Yurue as his teacher. Swordsmanship is different from shueji-jiejia. It can be taught. In addition, Ishida Konkari even set up a clan martial arts hall, and samurai who are willing to become servants of the Ishida family will be able to receive the teachings of Changsuan Yui. All of a sudden, the common enemy of Ishida's Iron Kingdom turned into a sought-after existence. After all, those martial arts lunatics, in addition to firmly believing in the concept of martial arts, their pursuit of martial arts is beyond the understanding of ordinary ninjas. At the same time, the other Umbu troops did not know that Sarutobi Shangri, the Land of Iron, had already executed them. At this moment, they have come to the periphery of Ishida's house. But they made the same mistake as Hatake Sakumo did. That is, they used the woods outside Ishida's house as a shelter when Aburame Ryota, who was in charge of leading the team, found the traces of the battle in the forest. He already felt something bad. However, Ishida Daidong has rushed over with the samurai. Including Ishida Daidong, there are a total of 13 warriors, but Umbu on the opposite side has 20. In just a split second, the Umbu people made a decision to send out the same people to contain these samurai, and the others directly killed Ishida's family. Those Umbu ninjas didn't say a word, and directly took the initiative to meet the enemy, and the 7 extra ninjas headed by Aburame Ryota quickly rushed towards the Futsu family from both sides. Damn! Stop them quickly! Seeing the actions of those ninjas, Ishida Datong's expression changed suddenly. He guessed what the other party was thinking, and quickly exclaimed. However, every samurai is entangled by Umbu's ninja, and there is no way to get out. And Ishida Datong also held Senbon Sakura directly and liberated it. In an instant, sakura flowers scattered all over the sky, trying to prevent those ninjas from rushing over. Earth-style, soil rock wall. Wind-style, wind scroll. Those Umbu ninjas were in the upper hand, and they had enough time to release ninjutsu. Immediately, earth walls rose from the ground. At the same time, the hurricane continued to roll along the earth walls, turning into a cloud of dust, directly covering the main battlefield, hindering everyone's vision. Ishida Datong wanted to chase after him, but found that a ninja had already taken the initiative to attack. Aburame Ryota quickly blocked the gate of Ishida's house with 6 ninjas. Without any pause, he started pinching. Earth-style, fall cover. 6 Umbu ninjas cast spells at the same time, and a twisted vortex instantly appeared in the sky of Ishida's house. Then a huge turquoise pig's head protruded from it. Apparently those Umbu ninjas were going to just flatten Ishida's house. These guys are actually so ruthless, Ishida Sorikari said while sitting on the roof of Ishida's house, frowning. Buzz. Advertisement. At this moment, the air above Ishida's house suddenly had a violent vibration, and the vibration spread rapidly upwards, and the originally distorted vortex was quickly closed. Then I saw Ishida's friend rushing out from the Ishida's mansion. Intruders. Die. As soon as he came out, Ishida's friend let out a low shout, raised his fist and threw it directly at one of the Umbu ninjas. Fists. Seeing that Ishida's friend came to attack with raised fists, he said in surprise, and quickly made a handprint. Earth-style, soil rock wall. A huge earth wall with a thickness of 20 centimeters appeared in front of him instantly. But they underestimated Ishida's friend. As the shock fruit that is regarded as the strongest power booster, even if Ishida's friend cannot fully achieve the boosted effect due to physical limitations, it is definitely not something that can be blocked by an earthen wall. Ishida's friend was like a cannonball, smashing the earth wall with ease and hitting the ninja's chest in a circle. The powerful force was transmitted into the ninja's body through the fist of Ishida's friend, and the clothes on the back were instantly torn, revealing the younger generation full of scars, and the ninja's chest was directly sunken, and the whole person lost his breath in an instant. What a strong force! Seeing that he instantly killed one of his companions with one punch, the other ninjas couldn't sit still. Fire-style Fire Dragon Flame Bomb. As soon as the shot was a level ninjutsu, a huge fire dragon appeared in an instant and swept towards Ishida's friends. The turbulent flames illuminated the faces of Ishida's friends, and even more so his high fighting spirit. I saw Ishida's friend raised his fist and slammed a hammer at the raging fire dragon in front of him. The space immediately began to tremble, followed by the earth, which continued to tremble. Every particle in the air is also violently vibrating. Under this influence, the Yanlong was also shaken violently and was directly scattered by the shock. What? Seeing that his ninjutsu disappeared out of thin air, the ninja was startled and didn't quite understand what happened. Glancing at his fist, Ishida's friend's eyes grew more excited. Die. Shock escape, high-pressure explosion. Sure, well done. Stepped on Tion Yuren's footsteps, and a pair of fists collided together in front of his chest. In an instant, the air around the ninja began to vibrate crazily. As the frequency of the vibration accelerated, the ninja's clothes began to dissipate quickly, followed by flesh and blood. The ninja wanted to scream, but the vibration of the air made his voice unable to spread at all. After a few breaths, the ninja disappeared without a trace without even being able to scream. What ability is this? Aburame Ryota stared and couldn't help asking. The ability to kill you. Ishida's friends have been backlogged for too long after receiving the shock escape bestowed by the ancestors. This time, the ninjas actually wanted to directly destroy the entire Ishida family, and finally gave him a chance to release. Looking at the ninjas with animal masks in front of them, the eyes of Ishida's friends, who are always optimistic, are full of killing intent at this moment. 78. After knowing that Ishida's friend has obtained shock escape, Ishida Sorikari has tested his ability. Although he had just obtained the shock escape ability not long ago, the tremors broke out, and even Susanoo, who was in his first state, couldn't bear it. And because of the addition of shock escape, the physical fitness and strength of Ishida's friends are improving crazily. Ishida Sorikari even ordered him to keep his secret and keep it from being known to others for the time being. If Ishida Sorikari doesn't know, Ishida's friend of course wants to pretend to be a pig and eat a tiger. But now that Ishida Sorikari knows, Ishida wants to know what kind of blood he is now. And these masked enemies in front of him are the best sword-testing stones. Although he doesn't know who these masked ninjas are, he just needs to know that these people are the enemies who attacked Ishida's house. Many people in Ishida's family have inherited Ishida Xinkai's character. They think about many things when they are calm, but when they are really excited, who cares about what is there or not? Otherwise, Ishida Xinkai would not have run around the world with his eldest princess. Sigh, I don't know if Xiaowu will be angry if she finds out that I wiped out her family 063. Looking at the fighting spirit of Ishida's friend below, Ishida Xinkai seemed to see his youthful appearance and couldn't help but pouted and said, because of the relationship with the ancestral spirit cage, he already knows what happened in the Iron Country. As for the special care of the Miyamoto family, it was specially arranged for Changtsu and Yui by himself. Now that they are already enemies of life and death, Ishida Xinkai certainly doesn't care about her in-laws from 100 years ago. However, although it is a good thing to have fighting spirit, it is not good to forget about the enemy. It seems that the 20 points of divine power cannot be retained. Immediately afterwards, Ishida Xinkai sighed again and said. Then, he smashed the blood jade in his hand. At this moment, Ishida's friend is relying on shock escape to smash Aburame Ryota and the others madly in front of them, making them exhausted and unable to get close to Ishida's friend. If Ishida Dadong was here, he would definitely find that there are only 3 ninjas in front of Ishida's friends at this moment, and 2 were killed by Ishida's friends, and there are still 2 less. The 2 ninjas did not appear at the main entrance with Aburame Ryota, but walked around thinking of Ishida's house from the side. The masters of Ishida's family should have been lured out. We will use Earth style directly. If Ishida's family is defeated, we will help others. One of the ninjas stopped, looked at the courtyard ahead, and said quickly. The other ninja just nodded lightly, and then quickly started to pinch the cause. As Konoha Umbu, they have already performed many missions, and they regard missions as more important than anything else, and they already know their hero, Hatake Sakumo, known as Konoha's White Fang, was buried in the mission of this Ishida family. People in Konoha really like to make small moves. At this moment, a disdainful voice suddenly came from behind the two of them. In an instant, the two Umbu ninjas were shocked. Immediately afterwards, without hesitation, the two shot at the same time and threw two kunai to the rear. Kunai tore through the air and made a whistling sound, but was blocked by two vines that suddenly rose from the ground. Advertisement at the same time. The two ninjas also turned around, looked at the vine, and their expressions froze. Earth-style sharp gun. One of the ninjas squatted down quickly, just about to press his palm on the ground. Whoosh! Ishida Xinkai, who was watching the movements of the two with one finger, flicked his finger, and a silver beam shot towards the ground in front of the ninja at a faster speed, directly smashing the palm of the ninja's palm to pieces. Hiss! The severe pain in the palm made the Umbu ninja gasp, and the two looked up, only to find that the eyes of the other party were actually a round of blood. Sharingan! And Mangekyo Sharingan? Exclaimed. One of the Umbu ninjas said with some uncertainty. Correct answer. But no reward. Ishida Xinkai replied playfully, and at the same time moved both hands deep to the back, and then quickly flung them towards the two ninjas. Get out of the way. The leading ninja seemed to have seen Ishida Shinkai's attack method, and suddenly his body trembled, and he let out a cry of surprise while jumping up. But it's too late. Shwa! Two blows of the twisting whip swept across, directly cutting the ninja's companion into 3 sections. As for the jumping ninja, Ishida Kakari didn't let it go. He just quickly scattered the thin thread, clenching his fist and blasting towards the front through the air. Following a series of loud explosions in the air, the ninja shattered into countless pieces in mid-air. After talking about the killing of the two ninjas, Ishida Xinkai continued to fall on the roof of the shrine, looking at Ishida's friends who were fighting with several ninjas outside. Smash the ground. Punch. You're too slow. You don't have enough strength. Looking at the battlefield of the four, Ishida Xinkai looked impatiently, if he had already settled the battle. But Ishida's friend has just mastered Jinduin not long after all, and he was only a Chunin before, and he hasn't accumulated combat experience. If it weren't for Jinduin's tyranny, he would have been besieged and killed by those ninjas long ago. It was precisely because of this that Ishida Xinkai did not make a move. In his opinion, these attacking ninjas were just used as a tool to sharpen the clansmen. The bigger the 3 ninjas headed by Aburame Ryota, the more frightened they are. Although Ishida's friend didn't have enough combat experience, the invisible attack has already made the other 2 Chunin strength Umbu suffer. And Aburame Ryota knew very well that they still had 2 ninjas to attack Ishida's house. There has been no movement until now, and he already has a bad premonition in his heart. It's almost there. Aburame Ryota thought to himself. Mystery, sea of insects. Aburame Ryota's heart skipped a beat, and countless black bugs flew out of his loose robe. At the same time, the ground also began to surge, and a dense swarm of insects sprang out from the ground, flocking to Ishida's friends like a black mist. 79. The dense swarms are all parasites fed by the Aburame family through their own chakra. Because those bugs rely on chakra for food, they can multiply it while after devouring a large amount of chakra. Just now, Aburame Ryota threw cocoons into the ground and let them reproduce rapidly underground. Such a large-scale sea of insects. Those parasites can not only attack the enemy's body, but also attach themselves to the ninja through their claws, forcibly absorbing the chakra in the ninja's body. Aburame Ryota believed that with so many parasites, he would be able to absorb the chakra in the opponent's body in an instant. However, he didn't know that those bugs didn't touch the body of Ishida's friend at this moment, but a layer of constantly vibrating air particles blocked the outside. I saw that in the black cocoon surrounded by those bugs, Ishida's friend loosened his hands into palms, and then quickly formed a minister on his chest. Cross-shock escape. Ishida's friend let out a low cry in his heart, and the bugs stopped moving instantly. What happened? Aburame Ryota's eyes were fixed, and he felt that all those bugs lost all contact with him in an instant. Attack quickly. The next moment, as if thinking of something, Aburame Ryota hastily shouted to the other 2. The 2 ninjas did not hesitate, they were already prepared just in case, and quickly pinched out the fingerprints in their hands. Wind style, Great Wind Blade. The two Umbu ninjas each spewed out a huge 2-foot-high wind blade, crossed and rushed towards Ishida's friend in the cocoon. However, just as the wind blade approached the cocoon, it stopped instantly and then dissipated directly. Seeing that ninjutsu couldn't get close at all, Aburame Ryota's heart sank. But at this moment, the ground began to shake violently. Ishida Xinkai, who was sitting above the shrine, felt the shaking of the shrine, and his expression changed suddenly. "This kid, are you planning to tear down Ishida's house?" Ishida Xinkai yelled and cursed, seeing the vibration getting more and more violent. All the children of the 4th generation of Ishida's family rushed out of the house under the leadership of the adults, so they had to strike again. Squeezing out a SI no imprint, Ishida Xinkai jumped down from the shrine and quickly pressed his palm to the ground. With style Lianzugia, a series of vines rose from the ground, quickly fixing the crumbling houses, and even the shrine of Ishida Xinkai was strengthened by adding a few more vines. No matter how the vibration intensified, those houses kept shaking, and the things inside were smashed to pieces, but the houses were still stable. And here, the bugs surrounding Ishida's friends began to dissipate with the tremors. After all, they were just bugs. Even though they were fed by chakra, they were still bugs, and they couldn't resist the high-frequency tremors. But friends Ishida don't intend to just shock those bugs to death. Within a radius of tens of meters, the air, the ground, and even the chakra inside those ninjas were trembling crazily. Cross-shock escape. This time, Ishida's friend yelled directly, kicked his feet, jumped up instantly, and then smashed a pair of fists forward. Advertisement boom. There was a loud bang, and everyone in Ishida's house could hear it clearly. There was a strong tremor under the fist of Ishida's friend. Numerous ravines burst out from under the fist of Ishida's friend and quickly spread towards the surroundings. At the same time, Ishida's friend's chakra spewed forward. Wherever it passed, the ground collapsed, and the air was torn apart by tremors. "Get out of here!" Seeing the outburst of Ishida's friend, Aburame Ryota knew that his mission was about to fail and immediately reminded him. At the same time, countless insects flew out from under his robe and quickly fled towards the periphery. When the two people heard the reminder, they were shocked and wanted to escape, but the ground under their feet had cracked. "No!" Two screams sounded. As if there were a pair of invisible hands, the bodies of the two Umbu ninjas were torn apart along with the ground. Aburame Ryota's figure appeared in the distance. Hearing the screams behind him, he didn't dare to stay any longer. At the same time, he took out a firework from his sleeve, which represented the failure of the mission, and retreated, and quickly set it off. Zero asked for flowers, but he couldn't compare to the speed of the vibration. He was caught up in an instant. First of all, those bugs burst into the air one after another, and then Aburame Ryota's body was squeezed by the vibration of the air, and Aburame Ryota was crushed into a ball of meat in an instant. After that, the tremor continued, and one finger spread forward. Soon, even the ninja and samurai who were shaking each other outside the woods were taken aback. "It's the direction of the family," Ishida Datong exclaimed, his face a little nervous. Soon they saw that a huge crack spread over, but it stopped at the edge of the battlefield. "Damn it, go to hell." With a yell, Ishida Datong didn't bother to care about the earth wall or not. With the Zanpakuto boost, Ryatsu, who was comparable to the vice-captain level, quickly ran over the net and directly caught the Umbu ninja who was waiting for an opportunity behind the earth wall. The rapid dance of sakura flowers all over the sky quickly wrapped the earth wall together. "Die!" With a murmur that sounded like a shinigami, the circle around Sakura shrank instantly and then exploded quickly, splashing blood mist all over the sky. Then those sakura flowers seemed to be involved and rushed towards the ninja who was entangled with other warriors, like thousands of arrows. Before the ninja could react, those sakura flowers passed through him in an instant. A ninja was cut into countless pieces directly. The sakura flowers soared into the sky, and it seemed to turn into a pink python in an instant. Every time it attacked, it would inevitably take away the life of a ninja. After a few breaths, half of the ninjas had already died. And those ninjas also saw the retreat signal sent by Aburame Ryota before he died. Mission failed. Retreat. With a low cry, those ninjas were startled, but they retreated quickly, and the remaining ninjas quickly disappeared into the woods. Watching those ninjas disappear, Ishida Datong immediately lifted Senbon Zakura's Shurkai state. His body swayed, and he almost passed out. The overloaded Senbon Zakura who was released made his body almost collapse, but he still kept his spirit and rushed back to the family. 80. While waiting for Ishida Dadong and a group of warriors to meet at Ishida's mansion, they were all stunned by the sight in front of them. The ground is full of cracks and pieces of meat. It is not difficult to see from Ishida's friend who has collapsed and passed out not far away that he did all of this. What the hell just happened? Ishida Dadong propped up his body and asked in some astonishment. The other warriors looked at each other in blank dismay, unable to answer for a while. Ishida Sorikari didn't tell them that Ishida's friend got the news of the shock, but just told them that Ishida's friend could stay at home when necessary, so they didn't know what Ishida's friend did. As for the clan, not to mention, those servants are protecting the seedlings of the Ishida family inside, and they don't know what's going on outside. Forget it. 743, let's ask him after he wakes up. In fact, everyone knows that Ishida Dadong did not stay here any longer, and just overloaded Zanpakuto, which put a lot of pressure on his body, and it is impossible to liberate Senbon with his body in a short time. A group of people quickly picked up Ishida's friend and returned to the mansion. Several people stayed behind to deal with the aftermath, saying that all the flesh and blood corpses on the ground were cleaned up. Sure enough, the population is still not enough. Ishida Xinkai sighed. The population of Ishida's family is still too small. Although they are all elites, they are still very afraid of being separated and restrained. Ding. Congratulations to the ancestors. The number of your shrines +1. The control range of the Ishida family increases. Among believers, the speed of samurai training +10%, the ability of samurai sword perception +20% too. The capital of the Iron Country has now completely fallen into the control of the Ishida family, but any samurai family who dare to resist will be killed by Chungtsuan Yui himself. Chungtsuan Yui not only became the terrifying god of death in the Iron Country, but also became the top sage of swordsmanship in the Iron Country under the promise of Ishida Sora's kindness and power. Countless people want to worship under its sect. Naturally, Ishida Xinkai also took advantage of the opportunity to release the news of the establishment of the Zawutang in the Iron Country, and countless samurai almost stepped through the threshold for a while. And Mifune was adopted by Yui Chungtsuan as the mantle, and he became the next admiral of the Iron Kingdom, and announced on the spot that he would become a subsidiary country of the Ishida family. Samurai's training speed and perception ability? It can be used, and the capital of the Iron Kingdom has a large population. I don't know how many believers who can provide incense value by showing the so-called miracles. Ishida Xinkai looked at the system's prompt, his eyes froze for a moment, and then he said leisurely. Not long after, Ishida Xinkai directly had an idea appear in the shrine in the capital city of the country of Iron. Build here, the Ancestral Protector Hall. Recently, Ishida Xinkai has learned to be smart, and every time she has to reserve more than 100 points of divine power for herself, in case of emergencies, spirit power -100. Ding. The Ancestral Hall has been successfully built. It is the same as Sinong City and Ishida's capital city. A golden beam of light hangs down from the sky in an instant, directly covering the entire shrine. The ancestors are about to appear. Looking at the beam of light, Ishida Xinkai and other Ishida family members and servants glanced at each other and were immediately overjoyed. Advertisement. They have a guess in their hearts. If the ancestors show miracles, will they be satisfied with their actions? And now they are more and more sure of this idea. People in the capital city of the Iron Country have heard that the ancestors of the Ishida family may still be alive and even become legendary ghosts and gods, but they were shocked when they saw 10 of them. And those warriors have never believed in ghosts and gods, but when they saw Yui Chungtsuan kneeling down respectfully, they were stunned. Suddenly, those warriors all remembered what this guy once said. Everything about me is bestowed by my ancestors. Could it be this ancestor of Ishida? Looking at the golden light in the sky, all the warriors were startled, and then became more and more sure, and hurriedly knelt down respectfully. They all want to improve their kendo. These warriors are almost obsessed with the pursuit of kendo. If they can make progress, let alone sincerely worship, they are willing to pay no matter how high the price is. Ding. After receiving the incense sacrifice, the incense value +1. Currently, I have 1674 incense points. Ding. Received incense sacrifice, incense value +30. Currently has 1704 incense points. Ding. Received incense sacrifice, incense value +30. Currently has incense value 1734.0. Yui Chungtsuan's kneeling immediately attracted many warriors to kneel down, and then even more people, and even many people who had already entered the Zuwu Hall on the spot just paid homage even after kneeling and worshipping. Some top warriors found that they had a deeper understanding of the way of swordsmanship. Their expressions changed instantly, and their eyes became extremely fanatical. Ishida Xinkai saw his faith in the panel. The data of prostration and fanatical worship are increasing crazily. Faith panel enshrined as a god generates 100 points of incense every day. 0.5 body projection generates 30 points of incense every day. 8 fanatical worship generates 1 point of incense per day. 793 worship generates 0.3 incense points per day. 26612 superficial belief 0.01 incense value is generated every day. 54156 Although Ishida Xinkai had already expected it, the rapidly increasing data still made his heartbeat faster. Sure enough, it is more appropriate to send a swordmaster to deal with these guys who only know how to use knives. Looking at those data, Ishida Xinkai couldn't help sighing that the paranoia of those samurai has now become a good player who contributes incense value to himself. A group of people believe that Yui Chengtsuen's choice represents their choice. Yui Chengtsuen, who had already cast his heart on Ishida Xinkai, also led those samurai himself. And it's still directly in the state of prostration. At the same time, this also gave Ishida Xinkai some ideas, whether he can make some arrangements and stimulate more people to believe in and worship him through some means. Giving people despair and then giving hope, will it make their beliefs more stable? Ishida Xinkai narrowed his eyes and said something secretly. After all, he knows very well that if he doesn't make arrangements, it will waste too many people. Take Tianjigua as an example. The number of people who truly believe in him is not even more than 1/10. This is absolutely not allowed by Ishida Xinkai. 81. Mifune became the #1 disciple of Yui Chengtsuen and immediately gained the followers of countless samurai. If Chengtsuen Yui did not exist, it would definitely not be Mifune's turn to be the current leader of the Iron Country. However, it will be different with Yui Chengtsuen, and no one dares to refute Yui Chengtsuen's meaning. In the Country of Iron, the top warriors are the ones who truly have the highest power. Even if the shadows of the villages of the 5 major countries come, they are not as effective as a word from Chengtsuen Yui. The Country of Iron is like this, above strength. As long as martial arts can be convincing, no one will object to whatever you do. After taking control of the capital of the Iron Kingdom, Mifune immediately began to clean up the forces of the original Miyamoto family in the city, and publicized that the ancestor of the Ishida family was the god of martial arts, and worshipped the ancestor of Ishida to deepen his understanding of martial arts. This is not what Ishida Xinkai taught him to say, but what Mifune experienced personally, including many samurai also reported that after visiting the ancestors of Ishida's family, the martial arts that he had been unable to comprehend seemed to have a new one understand. For a while, even if Mifune said that Ishida Xinkai enshrined him as the god of martial arts, no one dared to point out the slightest meaning. After all, if there is only one person, it is 01. But all the people who visit the shrine have enlightened and improved, which is different. Countless samurai are more convinced of Ishida Xinkai. Even if the opponent is an enemy, it does not affect their pursuit of martial arts. At the same time, Mifune immediately ordered the samurai who had surrendered in the capital to go to the border, and the Ishida family's army assisted in the declaration of surrender and incorporated the troops originally stationed by Shigemoto Tokugawa on the border. How did those border guards know what happened in the country? One by one, they heard that the Iron Country admiral was defeated, the capital was destroyed, and the Iron Country surrendered and surrendered. They couldn't accept it for a while. Some samurai generals even rebelled on the spot, but facing the Ishida family army and the elite samurai from the capital of the Iron Kingdom, they were powerless to resist. After dozens of generals were killed and thousands of samurai loyal to the Miyamoto family committed seppuku, the 100,000 Iron Kingdom troops stationed on the sideline were successfully incorporated. Afterwards, the army of the Ishida family and the samurai warriors who had joined the Zuwutang cooperated and began to quickly gather and attack other cities in the Iron Land. The army of the Ishida family united with the elite warriors of the capital of the Iron Kingdom, and the 100,000 troops incorporated were split into 2 parts. One was personally supervised by Ishida Meimong and Ishida Yuto. The attack is like paper paste. It can almost be said that it will be smashed head-on. Even the artillery and heavy crossbows on the city wall have lost their effect in front of the instantly generated electric tree forest. The other branch was led by Ishida Konkari and Yui Chengtsuen. Wherever they passed, they broke the city with a single sword, and the samurai inside surrendered on the spot and declared their allegiance. At the same time, in every city that has been defeated, Ishida Shrine will be built immediately, and Zuwu Hall will be set up to recruit. Originally, in the city that Ishida Meimong and Ishida Yongdu had conquered, there were still many people who questioned the existence of the Swordmaster. After all, they themselves were not too fond of ninjas. ancestral hall, and extradition of dead souls. After all, those dead warriors were at least at the worship level, and Ishida Xinkai didn't want to waste it. What's more, he found that the people of this country of iron are much more stable in their belief status than those of the people of Tian country, especially those warriors. Once they are sincerely convinced, they all worship Bushinkai. So naturally, they don't feel sorry for those gods' spiritual power. Miracles appeared everywhere, causing ordinary people to surrender, and warriors began to waver. Advertisement, but after some warriors sincerely worshipped, they found out that their martial arts talents had really improved, and they were shocked. More and more warriors began to join the ranks of worship. Some cities even went directly to the Lord's mansion after hearing about what happened in other cities, captured the Lord alive, and opened the door to greet them, waiting for the Ishida family to recover. At the same time, Admiral was killed, the Miyamoto family was slaughtered, and the Kingdom of Iron was defeated and surrendered. These news, like the plague, spread to all countries crazily. The countries that originally wanted to maintain an attitude of watching the fire from the other side were taken aback by the rapid battle of the Ishida family, especially the neighboring country of Tang, who immediately sent envoys to the country of Tian with gifts. Even the Kingdom of the Moon, which is separated from the Kingdom of Tang by the Kingdom of Tang, was glad that he did not send troops to assist the Daming Mansion of the Kingdom of Tian, but at the same time, he was too frightened to be negligent and hurriedly prepared gifts to show his favor. After all, even the Kingdom of Iron, after losing the war, who can stop the rise of the Ishida family except the 5 major powers? Even the country of Takino, who has always been on good terms with the country of fire, sent envoys to Ishida's house in Tanakuni to congratulate him. Many people have speculated whether the Ishida family will become the next Iron country, a permanent neutral country that serves as a buffer for the relationship between the 5 major countries. The small countries are concerned about the news of the defeat of the Iron country, but the 5 powers seized on the power displayed by the Ishida family. In the Kingdom of Wind, in Sand Hidden Village, second Kazekage, who had originally vowed to claim that Ishida's family was courting death, was shocked by the news of the 140th defeat in the Iron Kingdom. Although the Iron country is not among the 5 major countries, as the country with the longest history, its strength can be said to be extremely strong, and even the 5 major countries dare not easily provoke it. But that Ishida's family was able to end the battle quickly with lightning tactics, and they had to raise the status of Vice Admiral Ishida's family to another level. There was no special reaction from the land and water countries. After all, the mountains were high and the emperor was far away, and the forces of the 2 countries could not interfere with the Iron country and the Ishida family. After all, the Iron country has always maintained absolute neutrality, and even if it is destroyed now, they don't have much feeling. Among the several big countries, the happiest is the country of Thunder. Okay, I didn't expect the Ishida family to move so fast, and there are Kage-level samurai. Tutai, you go and inform. We initiate a 5 Kage meeting to confirm the neutral status of the Ishida family. After 3rd Reikage heard the news, his face was full of joy. According to his discussion with the Ishida family, as long as the Ishida family is supported to the status of a neutral power in the future, the Nation of Fire will definitely be suppressed. Convening the 5 Kages conference? Yes. Hearing 3rd Reikage's words, Tutai couldn't help being taken aback, but thinking of the original discussion, he nodded and retreated. 82. Just when countries are guessing what kind of attitude the 5 major countries will take to face the Ishida family, suddenly people discovered that the Kingdom of Thunder suddenly announced that it would hold a joint meeting of the 5 major powers, and invited envoys from various countries to attend the meeting. This time, the Thunder country did not invite the Iron country and the Tian country, but directly invited the Ishida family. The meaning is obvious. The country of Thunder has recognized the current status of the Ishida family. It is recognized that the country of Iron and the country of Tian belong to the sphere of influence of the Ishida family, and even treat the Ishida family as the head of the country. For a time, there was a sensation of unknown in various countries again. In this way, the Kingdom of Thunder has recognized the status of the Ishida family, and is willing to use the Ishida family as a neutral force that can replace the Kingdom of Iron. In Awagakure of the Land of Earth, 3rd Tsuchikage, the 2-day scale Onaji said thoughtfully. Although the relationship between the Land of Earth and the Land of Thunder is also not very good, but seeing that the Land of Thunder favors the Ishida family so much, Anoki suddenly became interested in the Ishida family. It's just a gimmick supported by the so-called ancestors. So is the Ishida family really worthy of the Land of Thunder? Beside Anoki, a young ninja asked in surprise. The 5 major countries have always been strong and weak. The country of Thunder has been researching various weapons to enhance national strength, and Third Raikage is currently recognized by the ninja world as having the strongest attack and strongest defense. He is still so ambiguous about Ishida's family, which really makes him a little hard to accept. It's nothing strange, maybe other than that Kage-level samurai. It's the Ishida family that makes the kingdom of Thunder fearful. Anoki saw it very clearly. He followed Second Tsuchikage very early and learned a lot. Naturally, he would not look at the Ishida family like ordinary people. However, the country of Tion is bordered by the country of Fire. The rise of the Ishida family will inevitably cause the dissatisfaction of the country of Fire, and at the same time reduce the garrison in the country of Rain. We can take this opportunity to weaken Emperor of the Kingdom. After a pause, Anoki said that his thoughts at this time were very similar to the decision of Second Kazekage Samama. Inside Konoha, it was still as calm as before, but it still couldn't be hidden from some interested people to find that the people of the Uchiha clan seemed to be in a hurry. At this moment, Uchiha Kagami, who is wearing a black cloth strip over his right eye, is standing in front of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Behind him are several Umbu ninjas who escaped from Ishida's house. In front of Uchiha Kagami, Sarutobi Hiruzen's complexion was very ugly, even gloomy like a pool of stagnant water. Advertisement, he even regretted listening to Shimura Danzo and sending ninjas to attack Ishida's house. The reason why Umbu ninjas were sent to attack and destroy the Ishida family was because they were worried that there would be a Kage-level in the Ishida family, but he never thought that the Ishida family actually had a Kage-level. In this attack, all the missions of the two ninja troops operating at the same time failed. Not only did they lose more than 20 Umbu elites, but even their own son died at the hands of the Ishida family. In addition, Hatake Sakumo lost the high-end combat power of Ishida's family before, which is not as much as the loss in the Rain Country War. How are your eyes? Taking a deep breath, Sarutobi Hiruzen kept himself from losing his composure, but asked Uchiha Kagami worriedly after listening to Uchiha Kagami's report. Hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen's question, Uchiha Kagami's body trembled. Uchiha Kagami was still afraid when he thought of the scene at that time. The seemingly weak arrow had a death curse on it. If he hadn't used the forbidden technique of the Uchiha clan, Izanagi in time, I'm afraid he would have been killed on the spot. Just died. Izanagi helps Uchiha Kagami survive Ishida Sokari's Kagami arrows, but at the cost of an eye. Now Uchiha Kagami is permanently blind in one eye, leaving only one Sharingan. No, now I only have one eye left. The head of the Ishida family has the Sharingan in the legend of our family. If I guessed correctly, his pupil technique is to release the death curse after injuring the enemy, and enter the enemy the body squeezes the opponent's heart. Although Uchiha Kagami feels distressed, it is still acceptable for him to live and bring back the news, and he also roughly estimated the ability of Ishida Sora. These news are extremely important to Konoha and the Uchiha clan. Kage-level samurai, Sharingan's attack method that kills when injured, with style, strange line escape blood succession limit, and blade that can turn into sakura flower, paper. Hearing Uchiha Kagami's words, and thinking of the news brought back by other Umbu ninjas, Sarutobi Hiruzen recited it again, with a complicated expression on his face. Thinking of the joint meeting of the 5 major powers notified by the Land of Thunder, his expression turned ugly. He can also understand the meaning of the Kingdom of Thunder. It is nothing more than seeing that the relationship between the Ishida family and the Nation of Fire is not dealing with it. A neutral position in the ninja world. And with Konoha's current situation, there is no way to deal with the Ishida family for the time being. At least, Zhao Qianzhao can't do anything to the Ishida family until he develops a method that can deal with these strange blood successor boundaries. Let's put this matter aside for now. Our manpower is temporarily unable to deal with the Ishida family. The Kingdom of the Wind has sent a lot of ninjas a while ago. This time we must preserve our strength during the 5 Kages talks. Taking a deep breath, Sarutobi Hiruzen closed his eyes and said calmly. Uchiha Kagami could feel that Sarutobi Hiruzen seemed to be a few years older at this moment. After all, the death of a son and the loss of so many ninjas were indeed a blow to Sarutobi Hiruzen, who had always been cautious in governing. Nodding heavily, Uchiha Kagami took Umbu away. After leaving the Hokage office, Uchiha Kagami did not go to the Umbu stronghold, but returned directly to the territory of the Uchiha clan. 83. Uchiha Kagami can be said to be a figure in a period of contemporary Hokage. They are all elites brought out by second Hokage Senju Tobarama, and they have a high status in the Uchiha clan. Now that one eye of Uchiha Kagami is covered with a black cloth, it has really attracted the attention of many people. Uchiha Kagami ignored the curious eyes of the clansmen and came to the house of Uchiha Fuda, the head of the Uchiha clan. Uncle Jing, you are here. What happened to your eyes? As soon as he entered the house, a 12 or 13-year-old boy rushed out. His eyes fell directly on the black cloth belt on Uchiha Kagami's eyes, and he asked in surprise, I'm fine, little Fugaku, you go out to train first. I have something to ask your father. After waving his hand, Uchiha Kagami didn't say much, and entered the room directly. What? Mangekyo? Are you sure? Not long after, a startled sound exploded inside. Time passed quickly, and the rise of the Ishida family was doomed. Coupled with the fact that the Kingdom of Thunder is holding a joint meeting of the 5 major powers at this time, it is really intriguing. For a time, the surrounding small countries sent more envoys to congratulate. Similarly, more and more samurai found that after sincerely defeating the ancestors of Ishida, they were so excited that they wished to change their surname to Ishida. The ancestral martial hall, which was originally boycotted, suddenly became the favorite of the Iron Country. Even because of the increase in the speed of martial arts training and the ability to perceive, many warriors have made great breakthroughs in swordsmanship, and the hierarchy of warriors in the Iron Land has also been redefined. The samurai levels were reenacted by the Ishida family, divided into junior samurai, intermediate samurai, and advanced samurai corresponding to Genin, Chunin, and Jōnin, and sword masters corresponding to the shadow of a village. This level of division not only did not make the warriors feel dissatisfied, but even attracted many warriors who had confidence in other countries to challenge. A large wave of talents has been left for the Iron Kingdom. As for Ishida Xinkai, after a few days of Ishida family members constantly conquering the city of Iron Country and building a shrine, he also gained a lot of incense points. Exchange all the incense value to me for an integer value of divine power. Looking at the series of numbers, Ishida Xinkai didn't bother to count, and directly ordered in his heart. Ding! The transformation is successful, and I have gained 2,754 divine power, and currently have 8,731 divine power. Abf! The system's prompt sounded, and at the same time, Ishida Xinkai's property panel popped up. Ancestral Spirit, Ishida Xinkai, Spiritual Power, 4,731. Can be used to exchange props in Ziling Mall. Lack? Please replenish in time. Spirit Servant, 0, extremely scarce. Please replenish immediately. Sacred Shrine, 13, rather scarce. Please replenish in time. Incense Value, 45, can be converted into divine power, extremely scarce. Please replenish immediately. Patriarch, 1, Ishida Empty Hunting, population, 1794 population clan patriarch, 1 clan head, 0 clan family, 3 branch house people, 12 retainers, 793 advertisement, 1:985 faith panel enshrined as a god, generates 100 points of incense every day, 0.5 body projection, generates 30 points of incense every day, 8 fanatical worship, generates 1 point of incense per day, 1131 worship, generates 0.3 incense points per day, 72,196 superficial belief, 0.01 point of incense value is generated every day, 69751. This is the 3rd time that Ishida Xinkai has transformed divine power in the past few days, and the total value has reached more than 8,000 points. That's right, there are dozens of ancestral halls. Ishida Xinkai found that each ancestral hall can only increase the capacity of 1,000 undead. At the time of extradition, Ishida Xinkai almost made a fool of herself. Facing such a huge divine power, Ishida Xinkai set his sights on the Ancestral Hall. Ancestral Hall Undead, 17645 BA, 1396 Battle Spirit. Won the continuous battles caused Ishida Xinkai to lose 10,000 believers who were at least paying homage. Transform all undead into ghosts. Ishida Xinkai gave an order in his heart. Now Ishida Xinkai is like a nouveau riche, and he doesn't feel bad at all after spending thousands of points of divine power. Because he knew that in a few days, when the large-scale incense sacrifices were refreshed, thousands of incense points would be added to the account. Although Ishida Xinkai wanted Ishida Kakari to order that everyone would be forced to pay respects every other Ishida, but he knew that doing so might affect people's faith. Do everything as you wish, and those who are truly convinced will naturally worship with all their heart, and those who are not convinced, it is useless for you to force them. Ding. Consumed 1,764.5 of the divine power, transformed successfully. Ding. Found a blue-grade Een spirit, which can be transformed into a first-level battle spirit. Ding. Found a blue-grade Een spirit, which can be transformed into a first-level battle spirit. Along with the transformation, The number of yinlings reached 19041, close to the level of the two parties. At the same time, dozens of blue-quality yin spirits that can be transformed into first-level war spirits appeared. To Ishida Xinkai's disappointment, there was no purple ghost like Yui Changsuan. Otherwise, he would be a Kage-level master. There are a total of 72 blue-level ghosts, and Ishida Xinkai doesn't intend to let them sit idle. Turn them all into war spirits, he murmured. Spirit power, 2160. Ishida Xinkai saw that his divine power had dropped by a large amount again. Ding. The transformation is successful. Congratulations to Zhu Ling for obtaining the second-level battle spirit *72. Tono no Yamamoto Eiichiro in an instant. Names flashed in front of Ishida Xinkai's eyes, and in the Ancestral Protector's Hall, the number behind the war spirit became 73, which means that there are 73 more Jōnins in Ishida's family. If the people of the 5 major countries knew, they would be terrified. You must know that the Ishida family has more than 40 Jōnin-level servants outside, which is already comparable to the number of top-level combat forces in a village. But at this time, the Ishida family mansion ushered in a bald man. The bald man had scars on his head, his face was benevolent, and he looked compassionate. 84. The bald monk came to the gate of Ishida's house, glanced at the 3 big characters of Ishida's house, and stopped in his tracks. Seeing a mysterious Yamato come suddenly, the 2 servants also frowned, wondering whether to chase him away. Excuse me, is this the house of Ishida who conquered Tanakuni? Putting his hands together on his chest, the monk asked the 2 servants guarding the door. Good. Seeing that the other party was not hostile, the 2 domestic servants nodded lightly without any pretense. As the servant's voice fell, the monk nodded. Then, under the weird eyes of the gatekeeper's servant, he knelt down and bowed down. Why is there a monk? Ishida Xinkai was sitting floating on the roof of the shrine, looking at the Yamato priest outside in surprise. In his impression, he had never had any interaction with people in the Buddhist temple. There shouldn't be monks coming to worship themselves. Could this monk come to save me? After a pause, Ishida Xinkai said with a strange expression. Generally, when living people encounter ghosts or strange things, they will go to temples to worship, or ask monks to go home for salvation. Although I appear to be a godlike existence in the eyes of many people, it is inevitable that I will regard myself as a lonely ghost. But at the next moment, Ishida Xinkai shook his head again, because judging from the kneeling posture of the other party, it didn't look like he was here to save his confidant, the evil ghost. The monk nodded, kowtowed, and then stood up slowly, looking reverently at the shrine, which was much higher than other buildings in the distance. My little monk, Shunwu, I have heard for a long time that the ancestors of the Ishida family can connect yin and yang, open the spiritual path, and lead the souls of the dead to bliss. I wonder if the little monk can go in and pay homage to the Lord God? The monk saluted the servant again, and then asked in a gentle voice. Ding. Trigger mission. Monk who broke the precepts. Task requirements. None. No matter what choice the ancestors make, they will be able to get task rewards. Mission reward. Marine 6 Styles *1. Marine 6 Styles. It is a physical technique in the anime One Piece, which can surpass the limit of human physical strength. It is divided into shaving, iron body, paper arts, moonwalk, tempest kick, finger pistol. At this moment, a system prompt appeared in Ishida Xinkai's mind. There are no mission requirements? Is this considered a benefit from the system? Ishida Xinkai was taken aback for a moment, and was a little surprised when she saw the task that was suddenly triggered. He had never heard of a mission without a mission requirement. However, this aroused the interest of Ishida Xinkai. He wanted to see what kind of precepts this monk with a figure like a bear had violated. Listening to the monk's request, the 2 servants felt a little troubled. Abbot, please wait a moment. I'm going here. One of the servants hesitated for a moment, intending to go inside to ask for their opinions, but suddenly felt that the monk disappeared in front of his eyes. Where are people? Advertisement, the servant asked in surprise. His eyes swept around, but he didn't see the figure of the monk. I don't know. It's gone in the blink of an eye. The other servant was also full of disbelief. After speaking, the 2 looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. I'll report to the adults inside. Shivering, the servant hurriedly said, and quickly ran towards the inside. At this moment, Ishida Xinkai had left the roof of the shrine, but sat on the tribute case in front of the shrine, looking curiously at the kneeling and worshipping monk. Just after the monk named Kana disappeared from the gate of Ishida's house, He entered Ishida's house with extremely fast movement and directly entered the shrine. As soon as he came in, the monk Kano knelt down and worshipped. The sound of his head knocking on the ground was no less than when Ishida was at the same age. It's interesting. This guy is definitely at the level of an elite ninja in the 5 major countries. Looking at the monk below, Ishida Xinkai said thoughtfully, "Forget it. Let me see what secrets you have." After a pause, Ishida Xinkai continued to speak, and then displayed the exclusive skills of the ancestral spirit, like a dream. Kana has heard for a long time that the ancestors of the Ishida family have superhuman abilities. Even though they are dead, they can open the gate of the underworld and seal the souls of the dead to enter bliss, so that the souls of the dead can be saved from the suffering of hell. He decided to come and see, to see if the ancestors of the Ishida family were really as they were said to be. Zero asked for flowers. The round of worship was over, and when Kana raised his head and opened his eyes, he found that the surrounding scene had changed. He seemed to be on the top of a high mountain, with floating clouds beside him, and birds chirped from time to time under the clouds. Illusion enchantment? Looking at the surrounding scene, the monk's face froze for an instant, and he thought to himself. Kana was a little wary in his heart, and at the same time, his eyes quickly swept around, and found that in front of him, a set of blue stone tables and stools appeared out of thin air, and immediately after that, a man in a blue-striped white-bottomed hunting suit was sitting on the stool alone. This person is none other than Ishida Xinkai. Looking at the figure in front of him, Kana remembered the portrait hanging in front of the shrine just now. The portrait was very similar to the person in front of him, but a little less old. "Since my little friend has traveled thousands of miles to pay homage to the old man, why don't you just sit down and rest?" Shinwu had a guess in his heart, but before he could make a sound, Ishida Xinkai had already spoken. Ishida Shinkai's words were full of vigor and vicissitudes, as if she had read all the joys, sorrows, and sufferings in the world. Even before Kana himself said anything, he felt as if the other party already knew his secret. Is this really the legendary godman? Taking a peek at Ishida Xinkai, Shinwu thought to himself, with excitement flashing in his eyes. "Your Excellency, is Ishida God?" Taking a deep breath, Kana asked with some uncertainty. Kana stood up. Ishida Xinkai moved forward a little, and a stone bench appeared in front of the stone table. Shinwu was stunned for a moment, but without hesitation, he sat down gently. "It's hard to say whether it's a god. I'm the ancestor of the Ishida family." Listening to the other party's words, Ishida Xinkai looked calm and said something slowly. 85. After Ishida Xinkai finished speaking, she took a sip of the tea in her cup, and then calmly looked at the monk in front of her. It seems that the other party's thoughts are fully known. The surroundings were eerily quiet. Only the sound of Ishida Xinkai adding water to the quilt, and the sound of an invisible bird chirping from time to time. Kana looked at the seemingly ordinary man in front of him with the same calm expression, but he knew that his own heart was not peaceful at all. He has been paying attention to cultivating his mind since he was a child, so it is reasonable to say that he will not be affected by illusions, but here, he feels as if he is really in the scene. It can only be explained that either the other party is a ninja with extremely powerful illusion skills, or he was really pulled 833 to a strange place, or another world. Thinking of this, Shunwu's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that this is the paradise of Elysium? Looking at the quiet and peaceful surroundings, Shinwu's heart beat faster, and there was a little bit of yearning in his eyes, and he asked subconsciously in his mouth. Seeing the other party's reaction, Ishida Xinkai frowned. In his view, the so-called monks, Buddhists, and Taoists are just pursuing to avoid the suffering of hell and reincarnation after death, and to enter bliss. But now I can open the gate of bliss and directly extradite the souls of the dead to log into bliss, which is undoubtedly the final destination for the monk who was abandoned by the Buddhist temple in front of him. No. Thinking of this, Ishida Xinkai shook his head and said lightly, "No." Shinwu was stunned for a moment. In his opinion, this should be the case in the land of ultimate bliss. Ishida Xinkai narrowed his eyes. He planned to keep this monk. At least judging from the strength of the other party is a master of individual art. This kind of person has extremely strong physical fitness and is extremely rare. Body of a fairy. And such a physique. If it can be matched with the Marine 6 styles rewarded by the mission, it will definitely be able to play a very strong level. Ishida Xinkai thought more about how to keep the other party in Ishida's house. After all, as far as Ishida Xinkai is concerned, the children of Ishida's family have not yet grown up, and there are too few people who can take care of things. Elysium. There are no worries and troubles. You should understand what I mean. Ishida Xinkai said something ambiguous, and only half of it was said, and the remaining half was not finished, so Ishida Xinkai just shut up. And Shenwu's expression became confused, and then his body shook. He knew that he still had indescribable anguish in his heart, and his face suddenly became miserable. My lord, I know that I have sinned deeply, but I want to be able to enter bliss after death. Advertisement Kana stood up from the stone bench, then knelt in front of Ishida Xinkai and begged. You are a monk. Cultivate your heart and mind. Don't worry about these things. Ishida Xinkai glanced at the other party, knowing that the other party had already taken the bait, but said calmly. From the reminder of the mission just now, Ishida Xinkai probably already knew that the monk had been expelled for violating the precepts, and it must have become a thorn in the opponent's heart. Instead, he wanted to mention it deliberately to stimulate the opponent. Sure enough, for Kana, the Buddhist temple became the last thing he wanted to hear. Master Shun should already know, so don't make fun of me. Kana comes from the Temple of Fire in the Kingdom of Fire. He was adopted by the abbot when he was a child. When he went down the mountain, he mistakenly killed the nobleman of the fish and meat people. He committed the great precept and has been expelled from the Temple of Fire. Temple. Shun Wu's face is ugly. He has worked hard for half his life, just to enter the ultimate bliss and become a Buddha after death, and now being expelled from the Temple of Fire, in his opinion. He has completely cut off his thoughts of becoming a Buddha after death, and just when he was desperate and crazy, he heard the news that the ancestors of Tianjigua appeared and extradited the dead souls to bliss, so he hurried to try his luck. But he didn't expect that Jin Weishi would let him meet the legendary god. Breaking the precepts is a violation of the precepts, and the main thing is to become a victim of preserving the Temple of Fire. Listening to the other party's explanation, Ishida Xinkai immediately understood the reason, sneered in her heart, and said zero. At first, he was worried about whether there would be some gods and Buddhas that he didn't know about, but now it seems that he is completely worried. But even though he understood the reason, Ishida Xinkai didn't plan to point it out. After all, he would not let the elite Jōnin-level gymnastics master who was sent to his door go away. Ishida Xinkai is very clear that these monks are different from ordinary people, and she needs to use devious means to make the other party stay on their own initiative. It's okay for you to rebel against the precept of killing. The souls I extradite are all soldiers on the battlefield. You killed no fewer people than you. It's just that you are an abandoned disciple of Buddhism. You need to offer incense to me and cleanse your karma at my Ishida's house from today onwards. Only by strength can one enter bliss. Ishida Xinkai didn't know what he was talking about. Anyway, it was just nonsense. Try to explain the reasons as complicated as possible. In short, it's just one sentence. If you want to enter the paradise after death, you have to listen to Laozi's words. However, this kind of words cannot be said directly after all. The more inscrutable one speaks, the more people will surrender. Ishida Xinkai is actually doing experiments with that opponent. He has always felt that a tough method can force people to surrender. It is better to directly let the opponent 1.0 make their own choices in hope and despair, and actively worship sincerely. God is above. God is not willing to serve God forever. In order to wash away the karma, Kana understood what Ishida Xinkai said, and immediately made a decision, shouted solemnly, and immediately slammed his head on the ground. The belief status of believers in Kana has been increased to, enshrined as a god, generates 100 points of incense every day. Ding. Mission. Monk who violated the rules. Completed. Ding. Congratulations to Zuling for getting the task reward. Marine 6 Styles. Ding. Congratulations to the ancestral spirits, appearing among the believers. Those who worship as gods, open the ancestral garden clan world. At this time, a system prompt also appeared in Ishida Shinkai's mind. 86. At the moment Ishida Xinkai obtained from the ancestral spirit world, the body of Kana, who was kneeling in front of him, trembled suddenly. He seemed to feel that this Lord God had instantly turned into a high god. Facing the ancestor of the Ishida family, he felt that he was facing a whole world of people. Sure enough, this Lord God is really the one who holds the key to the gate of bliss. Shen Wu's face was solemn, but his heart was extremely excited, and even his body trembled with excitement. This is a believer who worships like a god? Following the system prompt, Ishida Xinkai was a little astonished. He once thought that the first person to worship him as a god would be Ishida Sora, or Ishida Yuto, Dadong, and the others. But I never expected that it would be such a monk who appeared out of nowhere. At this moment, There seemed to be a golden light on Shinwu's body, and there seemed to be some faint connection with him. What's going on here? This guy is obviously not my blood. Why does it make me feel like facing future generations? Ishida Xinkai was taken aback for a moment and asked Zero-1 towards the system with some surprise in her heart. The target has reached the state of being worshipped as a god and has become an absolutely loyal servant of the Ancestor spirit. No influence will change his belief in the Ancestor spirit, and he has got rid of the restriction of blood. The ancestral spirit can freely give orders to it without consuming the power of the gods, or come down, and the ancestral spirit can transform the target into a spiritual servant after death. The system quickly gave a reasonable explanation, and what Ishida Xinkai heard was a sudden pupil and a rapid heartbeat. This, absolute loyalty? Terrible, terrible. Ishida Xinkai took a deep breath, looking at the burly bald head in front of her. She became more and more satisfied the more she looked at it. That's right, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that the monks believed in all his life are now expelled from the Buddhist temple. When he was desperate and depraved, he saw hope in me again. So his original belief in those Buddhas and Bodhisattvas has become his belief in me. In his eyes, maybe I am a god who can really stand shoulder to shoulder with those Bodhisattvas and Buddhas. Ishida Xinkai understood the reason after thinking about it for a while. Looking at the ancestral spirit world? What the hell? Ishida Xinkai frowned as he listened to the system's prompt and asked in surprise. The ancestral spirit realm is a world dedicated to the ancestral spirits that opens after the appearance of believers who possess the Fengrua life state of the ancestral spirits. It is a larger world that is completely independent of the real world's topography and features. Opening the ancestral spirit world requires the consumption of divine power. Ancestral spirits can choose to continue to consume divine power to open it. When the ancestral spirit world is activated, Guangwei, who died within a radius of 10 kilometers from the ancestral spirit, will be drawn into the ancestral spirit. The abilities and skills of the dead souls who were pulled into the ancestral spirit world will be fully recorded. The ancestor spirits can read the rubbings, and the ninjas who have the blood inheritance limit will be recorded and fed back to the believers of the ancestral spirits. Among the believers of the ancestral spirit, there is a relatively small chance of birthing the blood successor boundary. The system answered a lot of questions unhurriedly, and text prompts appeared in Ishida Xinkai's mind. Advertisement, Looking at the content of the prompt, Ishida Xinkai frowned. It is also a thing to extradite the souls of the dead, but it does not specialize in extradition of believers like the Ancestral Hall, but it can pull all the souls of the dead within the scope of the shrine. Compared with the Ancestral Guardian Hall, which can transform dead souls into undead, or even war spirits, this ancestral spirit world is much simpler, but it is extremely practical. At first, I was worried that none of the servants of the Ishida family had strong ninjutsu. Now, as long as there are dead souls of ninjas from the 5 major countries within the vicinity, he can record all the abilities and skills of the opponent. Whether it can be used or not will be discussed separately, but it is possible. It is used for research by the clansmen. Ishida Xinkai stared, looking at the reminder about the ancestral spirit world, and secretly thought in his heart, it's a pity. If this ancestral spirit world can be opened earlier, the skills and abilities of those Umbu ninjas can all be recorded. Sighing, Ishida Xinkai shook his head and said with some regret in his heart, feeling Ishida Xinkai's sigh, but it made the scalp of Shinwu in front of him go numb. He was a little nervous. He didn't know what the god was sighing. He just thought he was lamenting his fault, and in an instant, Shinwu said that his upper body was lowered even lower, almost touching his chest to the ground. Ishida Xinkai didn't pay attention, and then looked at the task rewards of the system. Marine 6 Styles. It is a physical technique in the anime One Piece, which can surpass the limit of human physical strength. It is divided into shaving, iron body, paper arts, moonwalk, tempest kick, finger pistol. This physical skill can be taught by rubbing, and the cultivation results are related to the target talent. Physical skills taught by rubbings? There was a gleam in Ishida Xinkai's eyes. He originally thought that this thing is a one-time thing, and it will be gone after teaching, but he didn't expect it to be played by 107 like this. When this thing is used, although it can't reach the level of suicidal physical skills that the 8 inner gates are fully open, to a large extent, its practicality is far greater than that of the 8 inner gates. Taking another breath, Ishida Xinkai set his sights on Kanna in front of him. Ishida's family doesn't have Taijutsu Ninja yet, so I'll pass on this to you for the time being. I hope you can use this thing to protect Ishida's family well. Ishida Xinkai pursed her lips, said something lightly, and spent 10 points of divine power to transmit the images of Marine 6 styles, training skills, and actual combat operations to Kana. Kana just heard Ishida Xinkai's murmur, and then found a large memory that didn't belong to him suddenly in his mind. Not only does it not belong to me, that memory doesn't even belong to the ninja world. When Kana raised his head, the original ethereal scene around him had disappeared, and it changed back to the original shrine of Ishida's family. However, Shenwu was shocked, and his face showed joy. He knew that Lord Shun had accepted his house. Sensing the extra magical body technique called 6 forms in his mind, Kana kowtowed again with a solemn and sacred expression. 87. After kowtowing, Shenwu still didn't get up, but knelt and sat on the futon, closed his eyes and concentrated on reading the physical skill called Lushur in his mind. At the same time, Ishida Dadong, who received the report from the servant, brought people outside the shrine. Looking at the bald monk kneeling inside, Ishida Dadong's expression sank. He had just experienced a ninja attack before, overloaded and liberated Senbonzakura, so that his body hadn't fully recovered, so he didn't notice the monk's arrival. Otherwise, he would have gone out to intercept him. However, Ishida Dadong did not dare to act rashly at the shrine, but walked in and paid homage to the shrine of Ishida Xinkai first. Then he looked at Kana. Why did the abbot trespass on my Ishida shrine? Ishida Dadong asked with a hint of anger and some dissatisfaction. If it wasn't for fear of disturbing the ancestors, he would directly attack the bald head. Hearing Ishida Dadong's words, Kana opened his eyes. Don't blame me, my lord. I came here to worship under the guidance of my lord, and I even talked with my lord just now, and my lord has agreed for me to stay here. Raising his head, looking at the shrine above, and then at Xiangshang's portrait, Kana's eyes were full of reverence, and he said solemnly, "What? Talk to the ancestors?" Hearing the other party's words, Ishida Dadong was shocked. He was fortunate enough to be summoned by the ancestors, but he did not expect that this unknown monk could accept the summons of the ancestors. That's right. The Lord God is holy and willing to take in the servant. So the servant made an oath to guard the Ishida's house forever. Nodding his head, Kana continued. He has let go of the obsession with becoming a Buddha in his heart, and he no longer calls himself a monk. Ishida Xinkai next to him nodded in satisfaction, but he also knew that Ishida Dadong would definitely not believe it. Let's just try to see what it would be like to be worshipped as a god. Target. Kana. Arrival. Ishida Xinkai murmured in his heart, and the next moment, he and Kana saw more feelings, as if he had directly seized the control of Kana's body. In an instant, the temperament of Kana changed. It has become extremely strange to others, and it has completely changed a person. But Ishida Dadong felt a little familiar. First, the ancestors? Ishida Xinkai hadn't spoken yet. Looking at the figure that seemed to have an ethereal temperament, Ishida Dadong first asked with some uncertainty. Lu Shengming nodded, paused, and suddenly made a sound. Although Senbonzakura is very strong, it is also a great burden on you. You have to try to control it with the spirit body, otherwise sooner or later, your body will be crushed by Senbonzakura's ryats. Advertisement. Ishida Xinkai looked at Ishida Dadong and saw at a glance that Ishida Dadong was not very stable, so he taught seriously, Hearing this, Ishida Dadong dared not doubt it. He thumped and fell to his knees on the ground, knocking his forehead heavily on the ground. Yes, what the ancestors taught you is true. Remember the unfilial grandson. Ishida Dadong replied excitedly. His eyes were full of excitement and enthusiasm. Although it has not been able to be substituted into the dreamlike scene again, it is enough for Ishida Dadong to be able to communicate with the ancestors. I have communicated with Kana, and I plan to let him stay at Ishida's house to practice. I taught him the 6 styles. If you're interested, you can ask him for advice. After a pause, Lu Shengming nodded again. Lu Shengming found that there is not much difference between the arrival of people who are worshipped as gods and the generals of bloodline clansmen. He can even feel that the various Sharingan, with style and so on he has obtained abilities can be released through Kana's body. Even if Kana has not mastered the Marine 6 styles, Ishida Xinkai feels that she can easily use Kana's body. The only difference, perhaps, is that the expenditure of divine power is saved. Yes. Dadong Ishida replied, not daring to say anything more. Helping to resolve the misunderstanding, Ishida Xinkai left the Tao state. Only then did Kana react, but his face was a little dazed. When Ishida Xinkai came, he was not able to know what his body was doing like Ishida Meimong back then. In his opinion, he was just in a trance. Master Kana, I am Ishida Dadong. the patriarch of the foreign clan of the Ishida family. The ancestors have already used your body to issue oral orders just now. I have offended you a lot before. Ishida Dadong bowed to Kana. After all, he helped to protect the Ishida family. Now that the head of the Ishida family is not here, he is the person in charge, so naturally he should treat each other with courtesy. Has the Lord God come? Hearing Ishida Datong's words, Kana was stunned for a moment, then immediately reacted and nodded slightly. Your Majesty Dadong, you are being polite. This servant is just a sinful and prudent servant. If you have anything to do, please tell him, and this servant will definitely do his best. After reacting, Shinwu hurriedly saluted, and then said in a respectful voice. The arrival of Ishida Xinkai just now was a great honor for him, and it strengthened his faith in his heart. He can be sure that this god can help him wash away his sins. Soon after, Ishida Sora returned, and after learning of Kana's identity, he naturally treated him with courtesy. And Kana also began to study the marine 6 styles given by Ishida Xinkai. Kana is a monk who cultivates mind and body. His physique is far superior to that of ordinary ninjas, and he is inferior to physical ninjas who don't need to beat their bodies specially, Wangdas. Marine 6 styles is definitely a key to open the door to a higher level for Kana, whose physical skill level has reached a critical point. The already good foundation made him more handy in the practice and comprehension of Marine 6 styles. And Ishida Xinkai naturally wouldn't let himself, the only believer who worshipped the god, leave him alone. Based on his understanding of Marine 6 styles, he continued to explain it, and even informed Marine 6 styles of the advanced skill life return in advance. In this way, Kana will contact you first, and then pass it on as a teacher to the ninjas who want to learn. Even if it doesn't make everyone learn Marine 6 styles, but it can enhance physical skills, in Ishida Shinkai's opinion, it is also good of. Ishida Xinkai intends to create a group of high-end elite talents who combine ninjutsu and taijutsu. 88. Soon, the day of the joint meeting of the 5 major powers set by the country of Thunder is coming. Because all the invitations to the joint meeting of the 5 major powers are the shadows of villages and ministers from various countries with high status in all countries in the world. Third Reikage originally planned to hand over both the meeting place and the host to the Iron Nation, which has always been a neutral country. However, it was strongly opposed by the country of Fire and Konoha. In the view of Third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Iron Country has been conquered by the Ishida family, and it can no longer be a neutral country that does not participate in the struggles of other countries. The differences between the Land of Thunder and the Land of Fire have made the relationship between the 5 major powers even more delicate. While other countries have reservations about this, it is obvious that the Kingdom of Thunder wants to make the Ishida family in existence to replace the Kingdom of Iron. However, Konoha seems to have a grudge against Ishida's family and strongly opposes it. For a while, many people were puzzled. Although Konoha has sent people to attack Ishida's house more than once, people from other countries don't know about it. So it is not clear what Konoha wants to do. Of course, Ishida Sorikari didn't want to have other masters in his own territory and directly rejected Third Reikage's proposal. 053 In the end, the location of the joint meeting of the 5 major powers was given to the island country of Hongzhou, which is known as the country of business and tolerance. It was a huge island with many ninjas who called themselves Shangren and had their own Shangren village. Rich and powerful, they employ ninjas and samurai from all over the world to protect their property. As a commercial country that travels between countries, although they do not have as long a history as the Iron Country, they maintain a neutral attitude just like the Iron Country. Although the joint meeting of the 5 major countries was convened by the country of Lei on its own initiative, the country that still presided over the meeting was voted for by the chairman of the Hongzhou Chamber of Commerce in the island country of Hongzhou by the Federation of All Countries in the World show hosted. The venue of the meeting was set at Tiandu Prefecture, which is called the City of Gold, where the Hongzhou Chamber of Commerce is located. As the time for the joint meeting draws near, ministers and Kaga levels from various countries began to go to the Red State Island country one after another. And the Ishida family is no exception. Ishida Konkari participated in the meeting as the head of the family. This time, neither Ishida Yuto nor Ishida Meimong followed, but the well-informed Shizhong Dadong served as the guard and jury. Ishida Konkari went to the Red State Island country together. Since the Ishida family conquered the Iron Country, all countries in the world are paying attention to the Ishida family. However, the Ishida family has been extremely calm these days, and has no intention of speaking out at all. People know that the Ishida family may plan to determine their status at the joint meeting of the 5 major powers. For a while, Many people were speculating whether the Ishida family would replace the Iron Kingdom, or, as rumored, would directly become the sixth power on par with the five major nations. Advertisement Ishida Xinkai is also very curious about the legendary kingdom of Shangni, because when I was still alive, I had heard of it, but I never had the chance to go there. However, because of the cage of the ancestral spirit, everything that Ishida Sakari and Ishida Dadong saw and encountered will be shown in front of Ishida Xinkai like a movie. And because the cage of ancestral spirits emanates autonomously and has no body, the scene Ishida Xinkai sees is still from a third-person perspective, which is more clearly seen. As soon as he entered Tiandufu, Ishida Xinkai saw the power of the richest city. A huge enchantment directly enveloped the entire city, and all outside were warriors and chunin that were no less than the elite troops of the Iron Kingdom. It's hard to imagine that Yurin is actually just guarding the gate in Tiandu Mansion. It's too extravagant. TSK side, Ishida Xinkai thought that being able to force dozens of Jōnin would be enough to be an evildoer, but seeing that the capital used money to recruit countless ninjas to serve him, Ishida Xinkai had to admit that he had money is great. Although his Jōnin can hang and beat those chunin, but if there are a large number, it can indeed show more momentum. Ishida Xinkai is still hesitating whether she should also create thousands of chunin to suppress the scene later. Ishida Sorakari and Ishida Dadong came directly to the gate of Tiandufu, checked their identities, and the guarding ninjas immediately became extremely respectful and quickly called the commander. After all, the reputation of the Ishida family has spread across the world, and Hangzhou Island, the so-called merchant gathering place, has better news than the average country. Soon, a middle-aged man came over. Although the other party was not wearing a ninja forehead protector, Ishida Sorakari could feel that the other party had surpassed Chunin's limit. Patriarch Ishida, I am Mitsui Mitsuzai, the city guard commander of Tiandu Prefecture. Are there only 2 adults in the Ishida family? Although the strength is almost comparable to Jōnin, Mitsui Mitsuzai is showing a hint of flattery. After all, before the results of the meeting come out, no one knows how the Ishida family will be positioned by the 5 major powers. In any case, Hangzhou Island, which puts interests first, will naturally not neglect the boss of the Ishida family easily. Just the 2 of us. Ishida Sakari nodded and said calmly. Although he and Ishida are the only 2 people, he can ask the ancestors to come down to the battle spirit, and even the Kage-level swordsman Yui Chengtsuan can appear here instantly. Oh, okay. This is the address number of the residence we prepared for the various forces who came to participate in the Ninja World Conference. I will send someone to take you there. Nodded, although a little surprised, but Mitsui Mitsukai didn't say anything. After all, in its view, coming here is just a meeting, although there will be some intrigue, but there will be no fight, so it's not too big accident. No need. Ishida Sakari rejected the other party's proposal. After receiving the house number, he took Ishida Dadong with him, and the 2 of them walked into the city leisurely. The moment they entered the city, both of them were attracted by the prosperity of the city. This is actually covered with bluestone floors. We used to live in the countryside? Looking ahead, Ishida Sorakari said in astonishment. Even Ishida Dadong, who had heard that Tiandu Prefecture was very rich a long time ago, couldn't help being speechless. The 2 of them are really rich by Tiandufu at this moment. 89. Ishida Konkari and Ishida Dadong, who were hit by the affluent life of the people in Tiandu Prefecture after experiencing the customs of Hangzhou Island, suppressed the urge to loot here and found the place arranged for them by Hangzhou Island. Residents. Hangzhou Island has prepared separate courtyards for each of the 5 major countries and the Ishida family, separated by several kilometers, to avoid any unnecessary conflicts. However, those small countries did not have such treatment. The ministers of the small countries were all arranged in a huge manner. Although they still had food and drink, their status was much lower than that of the 5 big countries and the Ishida family. But those small countries don't dare to complain. After all, even if they are really given the same treatment as the 5 big countries, they don't dare to really enjoy it. Instead, they might as well be able to have 8 trigrams with other ministers of similar status in this conference content. But people have roughly guessed by now, it is nothing more than a question about Ishida's family status. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that the Kingdom of Thunder hopes that the Ishida family can replace the Kingdom of Iron and become a permanent neutral country to ensure the interests of all countries. Although Fire Nation didn't show any obvious objections to Ishida's family, it still made people feel somewhat repelled. Some people envy the sudden rise of the Ishida family. Of course, there are also people who remain on the sidelines towards the current situation of Ishida's family. After all, the 5 major countries are now involved. If you are not careful, you will end up in pieces. However, many people have heard that the Ishida family has a Kage-level sword master sitting in charge, and wonder if the Ishida family wants to join the ranks of several major countries and create the sixth largest country. It's just that no one has been in contact with Patriarch Ishida, and they don't know what Patriarch Ishida thinks. Because of the special status of Ishida's family now, even the Land of Thunder did not send anyone to say hello. Those small countries are naturally more reluctant to get involved too early. In the evening, members of the Mitsui family of the Hongzhou Island Chable came to the small courtyard allocated to the Ishida family, but they only informed one by one of the place to attend the meeting tomorrow and left in a hurry after speaking. The Mitsui family is the head of the Chable on Hongzhou Island. Since they remain neutral, they will naturally not get too close to any country or force, especially now that there are still people from the 5 major countries, immediately attracted the hostility of the other 4 countries. After all, Hongzhou Island controls the trade and currency circulation of various countries. If it is not handled properly, Hongzhou Island may be directly overturned. At the same time, in a remote courtyard in Tiandu Prefecture, dozens of figures shrouded in black cloaks stood densely. Patriarch, it's been confirmed. There are 2 people from Ishida's family this time. Besides the target Ishida Xinkai, there is also a samurai with strange means. One of them took off his cloak and hat, with 3 bloody eyeballs in his eyes. And the person in front of it is the contemporary patriarch of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Fuin. Uchiha Fu was a little excited at the moment. After Uchiha Kagami brought back the news that Ishida's family had a Mangekyo Sharingan, he once thought it was fake, but he knew that Uchiha Kagami was a person, and it was impossible to lie to himself, so he even brought someone himself. I rushed all the way to Hongzhou Island, in order to be able to tell the secrets of Mangekyo Sharingan and Ishida's family back. In Uchiha's view, Mangekyo Sharingan, as the legendary eye of the Uchiha clan, is absolutely not allowed to wander outside. Advertisement: if they can obtain the Mangekyo Sharingan, the status of the Uchiha clan in Konoha will also increase. So their operation this time is also absolutely confidential, not even Uchiha Kagami knows. Start the mission. Give that samurai to me. You deal with Ishida Sora. If you can't bring the target back alive, just kill it directly. Bringing back the eyes is also fine. Uchiha Futai nodded, and after giving an order, everyone nodded and quickly disappeared into the courtyard. When Uchiha's people appeared on the roof in the distance and looked towards the small courtyard of Ishida's house, they found that Ishida Sakari and Ishida Dadong were sitting in the small courtyard drinking tea. Because it is a courtyard specially prepared for the 5 great nations and Ishida's family, there are no people living around it, so it looks extraordinarily quiet. 0 for flowers. 0 Although Ishida Dadong was drinking tea, he was holding Senbon Zakura tightly in his hand, and when those Uchiha ninjas were watching, Senbon Zakura let out a soft moan. Patriarch, there seems to be an enemy chasing us here. Ishida Dadong didn't feel the familiar Ryatsu from the ninjas of the Uchiha clan, but he could feel the killing intent of the other party towards him. Enemy? Why are there so many enemies? Ishida Sorikari frowned. He originally thought that the meeting would be held tomorrow. During the meeting, the status of Ishida's family in the ninja world was confirmed, and then he could go back. Unexpectedly, there would be enemies coming over on the eve of the meeting, which really made him a little dissatisfied. After all, no one wants to be hunted down and killed wherever he goes. Ishida Dadong is also a little helpless. When he returned to Ishida's house with his clansmen, he thought that the enemy was just Tianjigwa, the shadow of Konoha. If the ancestors of the Ishida family hadn't appeared, they would have been killed along with them. There are about 30 people on the other side, and the 2 of us may not be easy to deal with. Ishida Dadong frowned, and through Zanpakuto Senbon Zakura's perception, he was able to measure the strength of the enemy far beyond those servants of Ishida's family. In other words, the 30 people are at least at the level of Chunin, and he sensed a trace of the same breath as Ishida Sorikari from those people's breath. Ishida Sora frowned after hearing this, and then said with some regret, "Is there only 30? At this moment, Ishida Xinkai is sitting in the shrine of Ishida's family. Through the cage of the ancestral spirit on Ishida Dadong, he can share all the information of Ishida Dadong, and immediately guess that the enemy is the Uchiha clan. The Uchiha clan's blood successor limit. There is no shrine for me, grass." Ishida Xinkai wanted to open the ancestral spirit world to record a wave of Uchiha clan's ninjutsu and Sharingan, but remembered that he had no shrine in Hongzhou Island. Anguished and howling. 90. Only 30? Listening to Ishida Sorikari's words, Ishida Datong frowned and looked at his patriarch in surprise. Ishida Dadong was naturally not a fool to be able to win the title of Three Ships of the previous generation, and he immediately guessed whether the ancestors gave the patriarch some self-protection means. Dadong, do you want to see the real way of swordsmanship? Regarding Ishida Dadong's question, Ishida Sorikari smiled and asked aloud, the real way of swordsmanship? Ishida Dadong stared, thinking of something vaguely, and suddenly became a little short of breath. The kingdom of iron was subdued, and he naturally heard the news that Ishida's family was once again the most holy swordsman. Unfortunately, Ishida Sorikari didn't bring that swordsman with him when he returned, which made him a great pity. 307. Now listening to Ishida Sorikari's words, he had a special guess. Patriarch, can you bring that juggernaut summoning here? Taking a deep breath, Ishida Dadong asked nervously. As a samurai, his pursuit of martial arts and swordsmanship is also extremely fanatical. Don't look at him usually talking and laughing, but if there is a kendo master in front of him, he will definitely be in another state. Ishida Sorikari nodded with a smile. At this time, the people of the Uchiha clan had rushed over. The number 30 ninja headed by Uchiha Tomita was immediately surrounded by two people in the courtyard, and Ishida Sorikari was already praying in his heart at this moment. My lord ancestor, for the sake of unfilial children and grandchildren, please come down to help the masters. The voice of Ishida Sorikari praying in his heart was naturally heard clearly by Ishida Xinkai. This kid pretends to be aggressive and asks the old man to lie to him. Ishida Xinkai thought to herself, although she really wanted to slap this guy to death, but imagining that he was her grandson after all, she had no choice but to give up. Ishida Xinkai waved his hand, recalling Chingsuan Yui, and then waved his hand, appearing in front of Ishida Sorikari out of thin air. Seeing a figure holding a sword suddenly appear in front of Ishida Sorikari, those Uchiha ninjas were also taken aback. But everyone didn't speak, just Uchiha Fuda waved his hand, and everyone rushed up together. Their primary purpose is to tell or bring back Ishida empty hunting, so they don't use ninjutsu directly. This is it. Ishida Dadong ignored those ninjas, but set his eyes on Chungtsuan Yui, staring closely at the figure holding the sword in front of him. Chungtsuan Yui looked at those ninjas at a glance. Dare to disrespect the descendants of the ancestors, kill. Yu Icheng Siyuan let out a low cry, and instantly pulled out his weapon, and the Shuanglong phantom sword was unsheathed, like two blood-colored dragons rushing out, and the blood-colored light instantly enveloped the entire courtyard. The lightsaber was unsheathed, and cut a ninja in half in an instant. What? Uchiha's ninja was taken aback. Unexpectedly, a companion was killed in a single encounter. Advertisement snort. Uchiha Fuda's complexion sank, and he snorted coldly. People dealt with Ishida Dadong, but they didn't expect that there was a samurai hidden in the other party, so he immediately went up to him. The other party was not Ishida Sora. Uchiha Fuda naturally wouldn't keep his hand. His fingers flickered, and he quickly made a series of handprints. Fire-style great fireball technique. Uchiha Fuda blew, and a huge fireball appeared instantly. But Yui Chungtsuan didn't dodge or dodge. He directly raised the lightsaber in his hand and slashed down. A long line of blood emerged from the fireball whose temperature was almost golden, and then Yui Chungtsuan's figure appeared in the middle of the fireball unharmed. Uchiha Fuda's eyes are fixed. The main Goive Sharingan in the eyes turns rapidly. Chungtsuan Yui's attack method became extremely clear in an instant. He saw how Yui Chungtsuan turn his wrist, the blood light rose, and the sword blade was raised from the front of Uchiha Fuda. Uchiha Tomoda took advantage of the situation to dodge backwards. However, halfway through picking the blade, it suddenly stopped. Yui Mamoru waited at the foot, and his body suddenly thrust out, directly piercing the blade into Uchiha Tomita's abdomen. Everything happened in the blink of an eye, except for Ishida Kong hunting Mangekyo. Ishida Dadong could barely catch a trace, but even so, Ishida Dadong looked at Chungtsuan Yui with fiery eyes. Is this the juggernaut of Kendo Ultimate? Ishida Dadong exclaimed a little excitedly as he watched the blade stab the opponent. If it were him, he would definitely not have time to press down on the weapon and stab. In other words, the opponent's Kendo control and adaptability are far superior to his. Kendo Ultimate? You are the sword master of the Ishida family. Hearing Ishida Dadong's words, Uchiha Fuda's face changed instantly. He thought that the other party was just a first-class samurai. Mifune has re-established the martial arts level in the Iron Kingdom, which are junior high school and senior samurai, corresponding to lower middle school Jōnin, and sword master corresponding to Kage level. I didn't expect to be the sword master who broke the city with one sword. For a moment, Uchiha Fuda suddenly felt a sense of miscalculation. No, when we triggered it, you were still in the Iron Country. How could you come to Hongzhou Island so quickly? Suddenly, Uchiha paused and pointed at Yui Chungtsuan and asked 5.9 in surprise. However, Chungtsuan Yui couldn't answer his question, but his wrist was turned, and the blade stirred in Uchiha Fuda's belly and quickly drew out from the side. In an instant, blood flowed from Uchiha Tomida's stomach like money was not needed. But the next moment, Uchiha Futa appeared on the spot intact again. However, he closed one eye. Just now he used Uchiha's secret technique Izanagi, completely nullified the damage received by the body, and the price is a Sharingan. The mission has changed. Kill the mission target. Uchiha Futa quickly distanced himself from Yui Chungtsuan, and at the same time let out a low cry, changing the original plan to capture Ishida Sakari alive. 91. Uchiha knows very well that their attempt to capture Ishida Sorikari back alive is simply a dream. If the stalemate continues with this sword master who is comparable to or even surpasses the average Kage level, it is very likely that they will all be wiped out here. In the instant of fighting just now, he knew that none of the people on his side could stop the other party. Moreover, because of the samurai's obsession with martial arts, they also have a certain resistance to illusions, not to mention that the opponent is a sword master, and Uchiha Futa has no idea of trying to release illusions. Hearing Uchiha Futa's order, the ninjas of the Uchiha clan no longer hesitated and began to mobilize chakra quickly while making a series of handprints. The Uchiha family is very good at fire-style ninjutsu. Without exception, everyone quickly uses fire-style to attack. Although this place is relatively remote, it is the richest Hindu prefecture in the center of Hongzhou Island after all, and there are Kage levels from the Five Kingdoms, so they dare not make too much noise. So the ninjutsu they use is all in a small-range fire-style ninjutsu. However, although the range is small, 01's power is not weak at all, and more than 20 ninjas were released together, directly covering the entire courtyard. Ishida Sora frowned. His eyes quickly entered the Sharingan state. Then a huge skeleton phantom shrouded around Ishida Konkari and Ishida Dada. Those flames collided with the skull and collapsed in an instant, not being able to hurt the two Ishida Sorikari inside. It's Susanoo. Seeing the huge ghost image of the skeleton, Uchiha Futa widened his eyes and immediately shouted happily. This shows that the other party really has the Mangekyo Sharingan. In any case, be sure to recycle the Mangekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Futai didn't care about shouting, saying that the Sharingan had pushed to the limit, so she took the initiative to greet Chungtsuan Yui. However, seeing those ninjas continuously attacking Ishida Sora, Yui Mamoru gave up chasing Uchiha Futa in an instant and retreated quickly. Back off. Seeing that Chungtsuan Yui would come back directly, some Uchiha ninjas who were releasing ninjutsu were startled and quickly gave up the Hanshunin technique, biting their teeth. Each of them was angry with their mouths and retreated quickly, wanting to talk to each other pulled a safe distance. But Ishida Sorikari laughed. The skeleton actually moved, and a huge dagger appeared in the skeleton's hand, and it quickly slashed towards the retreating ninja. A ninja couldn't dodge and was cut off by the short blade. Then the blade pierced into the ground, as if piercing into tofu, without any hindrance. Naturally, Chungtsuan Yui was not idle. He saw his figure flashed and rushed towards those Uchiha ninjas. However, at this moment, a figure suddenly rushed out from the side, grabbing Yui Chungtsuan's shoulder. It is Uchiha Futa who has only one eye left. The next moment, Uchiha Futa's other eye also shed tears of blood. At the same time, Chungtsuan Yui stopped instantly and stood there blankly. Advertisement, it's Izanami. The ninja who was being chased and killed Fei Tue was taken aback for a moment, then his face changed, and he looked at the back of his patriarch and let out an exclamation. The emergence of forbidden technique Izanagi made the Uchiha clan fearless about life and death. During the Ninja World War, the Uchiha clan used this technique extensively, which made the war more intense, and some people even fell into crazy killings. Izanami was developed in order to avoid the massacre of the people who fell into madness because of the existence of Izanagi. Different from Izanagi who saves the state back to the file, Izanami is a top-notch pupil illusion, which can make people fall into a reincarnation for a short time, until they can absolutely love themselves, admit themselves, or the pupil technique ends. Izanami is the same forbidden technique as Izanaki. As a victim, it is also a Sharingan. In addition, Uchiha Futa used Izanaki just now. In addition, this time Izanami, Uchiha Futa is real blinded in both eyes. Kill this guy quickly. Uchiha Futa didn't have time to be sentimental, but quickly ordered. Oops. Looking at Chengsu and Yui, who seemed to be under the illusion, Ishida Sorkari's face changed suddenly, but it was too late to stop it. The ninja grabbed kunai directly and stabbed Yui Chengsuen's heart. This is the key point of any ninja. After falling into Izanami's illusion, no one can perceive the external situation, and naturally they cannot mobilize chakra to protect themselves. However, kunai pierced Yui Chengsuen's chest, and there was no blood spilled as imagined. At the same time, Ishida Xinkai suddenly got a system prompt. Ding! Your Zhanling Yui Chengsuen is in an abnormal state, and the state of faith is becoming more and more stable. The system's prompt sound appeared in Ishida Xinkai's mind, making him stare. He saw that Chengsuen Yui fell into the illusion, and also heard that the illusion was Izanami, one of the ultimate secret arts of the Uchiha family. At this moment, he was worried about whether Izanami would affect Chengsuen Yui's loyalty to him. I didn't expect that it would really affect it, let alone that the state of belief became more and more stable. Even, Ishida Xinkai saw a golden light spot on Chengsuen Yui's body, and the light spots are still increasing rapidly. After a few breaths, Yui Chenghe had completely turned golden. Ding! Congratulations to the ancestors. The status of your battle spirit Yui Chengsuen's faith has been improved to worship as a god, fixed incense value of 100 points every day. At the same time, the system prompts again. What the hell is this? Listening to the system prompt, Ishida Xinkai felt like she was dreaming. By the way, reaching fanatical worship is already 100% absolute loyalty and the reincarnation of eternal life. The state of belief still exists, and it even makes Yui Chengsuen's belief more stable. So, have you reached the level of worship? Ishida Xinkai, who quickly reacted, pursed her lower lip, and suddenly said thoughtfully through the cage of the ancestral spirit, looking at those ninjas of the Uchiha clan who were looking stunned. They narrowed their eyes slightly. 92. The ninjas of the Uchiha clan were shocked when they saw that kunai had stabbed into the chest of the opponent's sword master without even spilling a trace of blood. The ninja didn't believe in evil, and quickly said that there is nothing to pull out. Immediately afterwards, something incredible happened. With kunai pulled out, there was no scar on Yui Chengsuen's chest, and even his clothes were recovering quickly. How can this be? Seeing that even the clothes that had been scratched by kunai were back to normal, several Uchiha ninjas around suddenly screamed. How? Uchiha Fuda is completely blind now, and when he heard the shouts of the clansmen, he frowned and asked aloud. Our kunai can't harm him. It's a spiritualization technique. Hearing Uchiha Fuda's question, the ninja immediately took a deep breath, and then replied to Uchiha Fuda with horror on his face. After all, there is Kaido-dan in the village, so the first thing they thought of was the spirit technique with the same ability. At the same time, Chengsuen Yui woke up from Izanami. There is a solemn and serious look in his eyes like a god. Thank you so much for making my loyalty to Master Ancestral Spirit more pure. Looking at the ninja in front of him, Yui Chengsuen's eyes were full of enthusiasm when he said about the Ancestral Spirit. In the eyes of others, he is like a madman. But at the same time, it also brought a burst of despair to those ninjas of the Uchiha clan. Oops. Uchiha Fuda's face changed. He never expected such a thing to happen. Not only was the other party freed from Izanami so quickly, even their attacks couldn't damage it. Is this still human? With a thought in his heart, Uchiha Fuda suddenly felt unreal. Suddenly, a strong crisis hit, which made Uchiha Fuda tense and wanted to dodge, but he was blind, but he didn't know where the crisis came from. Patriarch, be careful. Immediately afterwards, she only heard the shout of a clansman beside her, and then he was knocked away from the side by a distance. At the same time, he felt a warm and fishy-smelling viscous liquid splash on his face, causing his heart to tremble suddenly. The attack from his own side can't hurt the opponent, but the opponent can easily kill his clansman. At this moment, he finally understood the same feeling that Uchiha Kagami had at the beginning, knowing that it was impossible for him to beat the opponent, and Uchiha Fuda, who was blind, exclaimed, "Retreat." But he felt something was wrong with the atmosphere. Clan, Patriarch, we are surrounded. Behind him, Uchiha Ninja said nervously. How can it be? Hearing the report of the clansmen, Uchiha Fuda was startled and asked hastily, Advertisement, isn't there only 3 people on the other side? How can they surround the remaining 20 or so people? Is it a ninja? Taking a deep breath, Uchiha asked in a deep voice. If the ninjas on Hangzhou Island find them, it won't be long. At that time, once their identities are exposed, Konoha may have a difficult time ending. No, it's not. It's the family crest of Kikyo, and there are dozens of them in the Ishida family. The ninja swallowed, and said nervously. Just at that moment, dozens of ninjas from Ishida's family appeared out of nowhere. Those ninjas were all wearing uniform combat uniforms with platycodon flower patterns, appearing from nowhere like ghosts. Not only those ninjas, even Ishida Sakari and Ishida Dadong were taken aback by the sudden appearance of dozens of ninjas. Patriarch. The corners of Ishida Datong's mouth twitched, and then he looked at Ishida Sora with admiration. He thought that the Juggernaut was already his trump card, but he didn't expect that the Patriarch would secretly bring dozens of ninjas. However, he was a little surprised that among the dozens of ninjas, he was vaguely familiar with a few of them. Ishida Sorikari was also full of surprise. He has never arranged these ninjas, etc. Suddenly, as if thinking of something, Ishida Sorikari stared. Ishida Sorikari's eyes quickly drifted over those ninjas, and finally landed on Chinsuan Yui, Xinchuan, Sato, Daong, Chung Siyuan. It really is you. Looking at those ninjas, Ishida Sorikari, who was the head of the Ishida family, immediately recognized that those people were all the servants of the Ishida family who had died. Those dead servants were actually standing in front of them right now. For a long time, he felt familiar with Chung Siyuan even though he was afraid to look at it, but he was too busy all the time, and he didn't have a chance to recognize it. Now that there are so many familiar faces suddenly appearing, he also found that these people are actually Ishida, who is obviously dead. House servants. Now he has also confirmed the speculation in his heart all along. Master Patriarch, have you finally guessed it? Hearing Ishida Kukari suddenly call himself, Yui Chungtsuan didn't turn around, but he still replied that he didn't take the initiative to say his name at the request of Ishida Xinkai, so that the identity seems very mysterious. Even Ishida Konkari has always been called Mr. or Juggernaut. After all, in the world of ninja or martial arts, sometimes people's titles are louder than their real names. Now that many familiar faces appear, no matter how stupid Ishida Sorikari is, he can guess some clues. My Lord Ancestor. My Lord Ancestor can actually bring people back from the dead. Looking at those familiar faces, Ishida Sora's heart beat faster, as if it was about to jump out of his throat. Don't worry about me, you must rush out. Here, Uchiha Fuda is not in the mood to think too much at the moment, and he doesn't even have the mind to guess why there are so many people lurking here in Ishida's family. In his opinion, this is a trap from beginning to end. 93. Uchiha Fuda's order made all Uchiha's ninjas nervous, and the ninjas of Uchiha's family also knew that it was an extraordinary time, so they quickly used fire style to rush to the outside. However, their fire style attacks had no effect at all on the war spirits who were spirit bodies. After the flames dissipated, the ninjas discovered that these people were unharmed. All are spiritualization techniques. Looking at those figures, Uchiha's ninja despaired. If it wasn't for their ninjutsu being blocked, they might have thought they had fallen into an illusion. It's all spiritualization technique? Uchiha Fuda didn't know what happened outside, but when he heard the desperate lament of the tribe, his heart suddenly twitched. Don't hold back, it doesn't matter if you use the forbidden technique, someone must escape. Although Uchiha Fuda felt unbelievable in his heart, as the Patriarch, he had to give orders. He can already foresee what kind of status the Uchiha clan will become in Konoha if the people he brought are wiped out here. Hearing Uchiha Fuda's words, those ninjas no longer hesitated and rushed outside one by one desperately. Chungtsuan Yui directly chased after him and cut off the head of a Uchi 630 wave ninja with a single sword. Izanagi is able to turn the damage he receives into illusion and return to his original saved state. But if Izanagi is killed in seconds, and Izanagi has no time to use it, then he is really dead. Seeing that their companions didn't even have time to release Izanagi, the remaining ninjas were immediately terrified and even more desperate. Although the other first-level war spirits have reached the level of Jōnin, they are still not enough to kill those Uchiha ninjas with fully open Sharingan in an instant. Those Uchiha ninjas didn't dare to obey orders and quickly fled towards the surroundings. And Chungtsuan Yui just left a few ninjas behind and let them leave. After all, no one knows how many ninjas the other party has sent. Ishida Sora still needs his protection, and he can't leave too far. And Ishida Konkari also came in front of Uchiha Fuda. Are you from the Zebec clan? Ishida Sorikari looked at Uchiha Tomita, whose eyes were bleeding with tears, and asked with a frown. That's right, Ishida family, don't be complacent. You have already threatened the existence of the 5 major countries, and they will not let you go. Uchiha Fuda didn't deny it, said something with a sneer, and then bit the poison sac in his mouth and committed suicide. Proud? What am I proud of? Ishida Sorikari looked at the corpse of Uchiha Fuda lying on his back, curled his lips, and said strangely. He felt aggrieved when he said it. He was hunted down so well, but he was threatened even if he resisted. Advertisement. But then, Ishida Sorikari looked at those familiar faces. Master Patriarch, we are here to protect Patriarch under the order of Master Zuling. Before Ishida Sorikari could speak, a figure named Yashitake Sato stepped out of those first-level battle spirits, and he was a senior retainer of Ishida's family. Ancestral spirits? Ishida Sorikari froze for a moment, feeling a little strange. It's the ancestor of the Ishida family. Hiromo Chimura next to him saw Ishida Sorikari's doubts and interrupted aloud to explain. Master Ancestor. Hearing Chungsuin Yui's explanation, Ishida Sorikari and Ishida Datong, both of them were taken aback. Especially Ishida Datong. Originally, he thought it was the arrangement made by Ishida Sorikari in advance, but he didn't expect it was sent by the ancestors. Master Zhu Ling reshaped the spirit body for us and raised it to the level of Jōnin and sent us to help the Ishida family. Yashitake Sato nodded and said with reverence. After these Yin spirits were transformed into first-level battle spirits, although they did not directly increase their belief level to the point of 5-body surrender like Yui Chungsuin of the second-level battle spirit, Ishida Xinkai knew very well that the belief of these guys would become more and more stable. Just like Chungsuin Yui who experienced Izanami, with the beating of experience, he can even reach the level of worshipping a god. Not to mention other things, Funrua Shun's daily fixed offerings can be exchanged for a little god's spiritual power. What's more, Chunyi can also descend into possession without consumption. However, it's a bit troublesome to always come with a body. System, if I descend with the ancestral spirit, what will be the cost? Ishida Xinkai looked at those battle spirits with the help of the ancestral spirit cage, hesitated for a moment, and suddenly asked the system in his heart. The ancestral drive needs to consume the spiritual power of the gods to shape, and there must be enough believers to support it. The body of the ancestors in the initial state is expected to consume 10,000 spiritual powers to shape. The precondition is that the ancestors own Tian Wan's belief. 10,000 gods spiritual power? Damn, a genius born in my family with the talent of 6 paths only has 200 gods spiritual power, right? I actually need 10,000 gods spiritual power to shape the initial state of the ancestor's body? Listening to the system's answer, Ishida Xinkai almost revealed the mystery in front of her. 100,000 believers have been reached, but 10,000 points of spiritual power to shape a body is really a bit painful for the current Ishida Xinkai, because it will take at least 2 or 3 months to accumulate. What about the clone? It shouldn't take so much divine power to create the clone, right? After hesitating for a while, Ishida Xinkai continued to ask. It takes 1,000 points of divine power to shape the avatar, and it needs to consume 100 points of divine power every day in the descending state, and it only needs to consume 10 points of divine power every day to lodge in the shrine. After the ancestral spirit clone leaves the 50-kilometer radius of the shrine, the power consumption of the god is doubled. Well, I didn't ask anything. Ishida Xinkai rolled his eyes. Although the creation of the clone does not consume a lot of divine power, it is a bit disgusting for this special mother to consume divine power every day for maintenance. As for the subsequent possession, rebirth, etc., it is not within the scope of Ishida Xinkai's consideration for the time being. 94. Ishida Xinkai, who just thought she could live a prosperous life, was beaten back to reality. She saw several corpses of the Uchiha clan on the ground through the ancestral cage and shook her head again. Arrival, target. Chungsuin Yui, Ishida Xinkai murmured. The next moment, he completely gained the control over Yui Chungsuin's spiritual body. At the same time, the first-level war spirits around immediately felt the coming of Ishida Xinkai's breath, and all knelt down on one knee towards Yui Chungsuin. Ishida Xinkai can directly use his firm belief to descend without consumption if he is a believer or ghost in the state of a god, and it will not affect the body of the clansmen like the descending of blood. With the arrival of Ishida Xinkai, Yui Chungsuin's temperament has also changed. Although it is not much different from before, Ishida Datong immediately felt the difference. Looking at the reverent and fanatical appearances of the revived servants around him, as if he had guessed something, he quickly pulled Ishida Sora to kneel down. Disciple and grandson Datong, respectfully welcome the ancestors. Ishida Datong bowed respectfully towards Yu Icheng village. He knew very well that when the ancestor was in the shrine, after he came down, the bald monk Kana showed this kind of temperament. He can be sure that the person standing in front of them is no longer Yui Chungsuin, But the ancestor. Ancestor? Hearing Ishida Datong's words, Ishida Xinkai, who had a strange expression on his face, suddenly tightened his expression and quickly bowed down. Unworthy grandson, welcome to the ancestors. Although it was the first time to see the ancestor descending on other people, but seeing the reaction of Ishida Datong and those servants who came back from the dead, Ishida Xinkai naturally did not dare to neglect, and quickly said respectfully, "Get up." Ishida Xinkai nodded, then sat down on the stone bench next to her, poured herself a cup of tea, and said calmly at the same time. Those battle spirits didn't hesitate at all. Following Ishida Shinkai's order, they immediately stood up respectfully and then waited around. Ishida Sakari and Ishida Datong also stood up quickly, bowed their waists, and approached respectfully. Looking at Chungtsu and Yui, who seemed to be a completely changed person in front of him, both of them were enthusiastic and nervous at the same time. After all, they just discovered that this ancestor is really a man of God. It was fine to say that he could extradite the souls of the dead to enter bliss, but now he can actually bring people back from the dead. Speaking out may scare people to death. Ishida Xinkai was also looking at the two boys in front of him at this time. He found that when those first-level war spirits appeared just now, a golden light that only he could see began to appear on both of them. That golden color is very similar to when Chungtsu and Yui was in the state of Izanami, when the state of belief was raised to the state of worshipping gods. He knew that it might not be long before these two guys would treat him like gods. Advertisement: if I can get some more Izanami and give it to each of these two boys, it is estimated that I can create two gods on the spot. Ishida Xinkai looked at the two of them and said inwardly. However, he also knew that this was impossible. After all, Yui Changsuan was a battle spirit. He had been transformed many times by himself. Apart from his own ancestor spirit, he had no worries about other things in his heart. Ishida Xinkai did not dare guarantee whether believers who are still alive will also become gods. After Ishida Xinkai took a sip of tea, she paused again and finally spoke out. Kokari, you are the head of the Ishida family now. What are you going to do next? Ishida Xinkai looked at Ishida Sara in front of him and suddenly asked. Ishida Xinkai is not idle to ask this. He is testing whether Ishida Sakari can be the backbone of Ishida's family. Although the state of strategizing has enhanced Ishida Sora's social skills, but the others are not idiots. Those who can serve as the shadow of a village or the leader are all old foxes who have been calculating for half their lives. Even Ishida Xinkai dare not say that they can 100% not wet their shoes. Zero for flowers? Question mark. Hearing Ishida Shinkai's inquiry, Ishida Sorakari was a little taken aback. He originally thought that the ancestor came to give him instructions, but he didn't expect to ask him the other way around. Remember, you are now the head of the Ishida family, representing the entire Ishida family. Ishida Xinkai put down the tea in his hand and said with a displeased expression. He wanted to discover Ishida Sorakari's ambitions. He was able to keep the country of Tion and even dared to fight against the Miyamoto family of the country of Iron. He didn't want his grandson to be a coward. Zero, the nation of fire has been sending people to attack my Ishida house. Don't you have any ideas? With a sneer, Ishida Xinkai sat on the stone bench and asked in a deep voice. But Ishida Sorakari was moved by what Ishida Xinkai said and wanted to speak, but he hesitated. But when he met Ishida Shinkai's gaze, he was suddenly speechless. Taking a deep breath, Ishida Sorakari calmed down quickly and glanced at the surrounding servants who had come back from the dead. Ishida Sorakari found that his vision was still limited by the prestige of the previous 5 powers. Lord Ancestor, don't worry, I understand. But grandson needs your support. Ishida Sorakari's face became serious, and he said seriously to Ishida Xinkai. Seeing Ishida Sorakari's aura of overlord, Ishida Xinkai nodded silently in his heart. He knew that the effect he wanted had been achieved. He knew very well that for the Ishida family, it was not enough for the patriarch to just strategize. What is needed more is the ambition to become the overlord. If you want you to be willing to do it, strength, people, I can give it to you. Ishida Xinkai said calmly, but added a sentence in her heart. If you don't want to, then change the owner. Mountain. 95. The next day, after eating the breakfast sent by the Mitsui family, Ishida Sorakari and Ishida came together and arrived in front of a huge gymnasium that was originally scheduled. Ishida Patriarch, Ishida Kakari, and the others were about to go in when someone shouted. Immediately afterwards, I saw a man who looked more honest walked over quickly, with a smile on his face, as if he was very enthusiastic. The minister of Tang Country? Stopping in his tracks, He looked at Ishida Sorikari in surprise. This person is the minister who went to congratulate Ishida's house when first generation represented Yonokuni, but Ishida Sorikari no longer remembers the other party's name. I didn't expect Patriarch Ishida to still remember me. Hearing Ishida Sorikari's words, the minister was overjoyed. Regarding the matter of names, he certainly wouldn't mention it in September 20th. He directly threw it behind his head. You're welcome. Ishida Sorikari understood that this guy was here to seek relationships, so he just smiled dryly and replied politely. This joint meeting of the 5 major countries is to determine the status of the Ishida family. If it is recognized by the 5 major countries, the Ishida family will really be able to ban the country of iron in the future. The minister came over and said to Ishida Sorikari with a flattering face. Although he is also a minister of a country, he is not enough to face a behemoth like the Ishida family that can directly overwhelm the Iron Kingdom. After all, although the country of Tang is stronger than the country of Tian, it is far behind the country of Iron. Hearing this, Ishida Sora raised the corner of his mouth and showed an intriguing smile. Is it recognized by the 5 major countries? Don't worry, they will recognize it. Ishida Sora nodded after hearing this, and after saying a word, he took Ishida Dadong directly into the gym. Although Ishida Sakari left directly, the minister of the Tang dynasty didn't seem to be angry at all. With a finger and a smile, he watched Ishida Sakari disappear completely in the gym, and then he restrained his smile. Is that the head of the Ishida family just now? It seems very arrogant. At this time, a luxuriously dressed man walked up to the minister of the Tang dynasty and asked curiously. He has that arrogant capital. If I have such ability and background, I can be more arrogant than him. Although your maritime chamber of commerce is rich, it is best not to provoke him if there is no conflict of interest. Minister Tang Jigua shook his head, said something envious, and then warned, with a hint of fear in his tone. The rise of the Ishida family has become the object of admiration for the surrounding small countries. Even if the head of the Ishida family ignores him, he dare not show any dissatisfaction. After all, if Ishida's family gave him Ujigwa, no one would reason. Advertisement, really? Seeing that the minister of Yuno country had such a high opinion of Ishida's family, he really showed a surprised expression. After entering the gymnasium, led by a special person, Ishida Sakari and Ishida Dadong came to the most central venue. There are 7 tables on the venue, 2 of which are put together, and the other 5 are put together to form a pentagon, and there are many side-by-side soft chairs around, and on each table or the armrest of the chair, it is an exquisite and expensive tea fruit product. Sure enough, he is a rich man. Looking through the ancestral cage, there are some fruits on the table that he hasn't seen since he crossed here. Ishida Xinkai couldn't help sighing. Fruit is different from other goods. The storage time is too short, and the transportation industry in this Hokage world is not very developed. Even if you go by water, you can't guarantee the freshness of the fruit, unless it is stored in an ice bank. But even in this world, it is difficult to have an icehouse capable of transporting fruit. Therefore, Ishida Xinkai can be sure that the Mitsui family must have a ninja from the Ice Escape Blood Successor limit. Thinking that ninjas are used as escorts to transport luxury fruits, Ishida Xinkai couldn't help but sigh again. Ishida Xinkai is still like this. After all, he had eaten and seen many good things in his previous life. But Ishida Sakari and other ministers from various countries who had already sat down looked at some unfamiliar fruits one by one, and they were really at a loss for what to say. However, the merchants of Hangzhou Island are worthy of being merchants, and they completely equate wealth with enjoyment. Even next to each table and chair, there are dedicated serving girls who have prepared all kinds of food and tea for the people who come to the meeting and put them on the snack tray, so as not to make the ministers of various countries make jokes. However, the ministers from all over the world were shocked by the luxury of Hangzhou Island. Since Ishida Sorikari was guided by her ancestors yesterday, she seems to be a different person. She no longer has the restraint she used to have, and she looks like a local master wherever she goes. He was not polite either, and directly picked up the emerald-cut fruit that he hadn't seen in a while, and put it in his mouth. The sweet and sour taste made Ishida's mouth full of saliva, and at the same time, his eyes lit up. This is good. When we go back, we will put some on the altar and give the ancestors a taste. Ishida Kakari took another bite as if he was at his own home, and he picked up the plate and handed it to Ishida Dadong, savoring it while saying, Ishida Xinkai, who has been paying attention to the cage of ancestral spirits, naturally heard Ishida Sora's words, and couldn't help but twitch the corners of his mouth. This kid, after all, is the head of my Ishida family. A kiwi has made you so excited. Ishida Xinkai shook his head 5.0 and said, at the same time, His heart felt warm. This kid can think of his ancestor and let him comfort him. Ishida Sorikari sat on the edge of the 7 tables, next to the chairman of Hongzhou Island Mitsui Hisashi, and the shadows of the 5 villages. Facing Ishida Sorikari's unruly appearance, the corners of the mouths of several people including Third Raikage twitched a little, especially Third Raikage. In his impression, the head of the Ishida family should be a relatively restrained and cautious patriarch of the small clan look like. Seeing that 4 of the 5 shadows were a little impatient, Mitsui Hisaya finally stood up. For a moment, everyone stopped what they were doing. Even Ishida Sora put the plate back on the table with a thought. Here we go. 96. Mitsui Sho is the contemporary patriarch of the Mitsui family, the largest chaebol in Hongzhou Island. Moreover, he is also the chairman of the Hongzhou Island General Chamber of Commerce. It can be said that every country, island, and even city has its trade caravans. Its huge wealth ability, but it can be seen from the extravagance of Tiandu Mansion that it is covered with bluestone floors, and this time, as the host of the joint meeting of the 5 major powers, it has attracted the attention of countless people. As the host of the joint meeting of the 5 major countries, I am here to announce the start of the meeting. Next, Raikage AI, the initiator of the meeting, will explain the main purpose of the meeting. Hisashi Mitsui took a deep breath. As the head of the Mitsui Consortium, he naturally has a very good ability to control the field. With just a few words, he picked himself up completely and did not get involved in the affairs of the 5 major countries. No matter what happens next, how things develop has nothing to do with Hongzhou Island and the Mitsui family. It is said that if you stand high, you will fall badly. Not to mention that there are 5 fierce tigers who are hostile to each other next to 01. If one of them is bad, they will be eaten up before they fall. As a businessman, Mitsui Sho is very accurate in judging people. Don't look at the 5 people next to him who seem harmless to humans and animals. But once their interests are involved, even if they are allies, they will eat up to the bone. As soon as Mitsui Sho said, the people below all looked at Third Raikage. Everyone already knows that Lord Raikage intends to take advantage of the 5 Kages meeting to show favor to the Ishida family over Nakachi Nakajayafu's position. In everyone's eyes, even if the Ishida family can't join the 5 major countries, they can still become a force in this ninja world, etc. At this moment, Third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly called out and stopped Third Raikage, who was about to speak. Can't sit still? Some people below who knew some inside information secretly watched with cold eyes. After all, the Land of Fire has wiped out all the ninja families in the surrounding small countries, and the Ishida family is not the only victim. Even, among the people present, there were quite a few people who had been friends with those ninja families, so they naturally hoped to see the rise of the Ishida family make the Nation of Fire feel uncomfortable. On the contrary, Ishida Konkari and Ishida Dadong, the master and servant, seemed to have heard nothing and looked like the old gods were there. The appearance of the two attracted the attention of many people, and some even wondered whether the status of the Ishida family had already been determined by default. Third Raikage AI frowned. He didn't have as many speculations as the people below. He knew that Sarutobi Hiruzen would not be able to sit still, but he didn't expect that Sarutobi Hiruzen would speak so quickly before he opened his mouth. Third Raikage AI, before that, I have something to say first. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked ahead and said unhurriedly. Judging from his words and face, people can't find too many clues. However, people from the following countries still faintly have their hearts beating faster, and even faintly look forward to it. After all, these are the 5 major countries, and their every move will affect countless people. Advertisement. As for Mitsui Sho, his heart sank even more. Seeing this sign, he knew that something unfriendly might happen, so he cast a look at the guard at the door, making everyone on guard. Third Hokage, I initiated this meeting. If there is anything, let's talk about it after the meeting is over. Third Raikage frowned. He knew that Sarutobi Hiruzen must be targeting Ishida's family. This is a family that can replace the Iron Kingdom with great difficulty. If the Ishida family can replace the Iron Kingdom as a permanent neutral country, then he is sure that he will gradually let the Fire Kingdom retreat from its hegemony position. Naturally, he didn't want Sarutobi Hiruzen to get involved. The other shadows are all watching with cold eyes. Everyone is a 1,000-year-old fox who can't figure out the other's 9 tails. I think it's better to let Third Hokage talk first. After all, there is still a lot of time for the next meeting, so as not to make any wrong decisions later. At this time, Third Mizukage spoke. Third Mizukage looked young, squinting his eyes as if he was asleep, but no one would underestimate this man who seemed to have his eyes closed. Although it is the third-generation Kage of the country of water, it is also the only third-generation Kage who participated in the first 5 Kage's conference other than second Kazekage. Everyone was taken aback when they heard third Mizukige's words. No one thought that people from the land of water, who had always been at odds with the land of fire, would speak for Sarutobi Hiruzen. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen himself glanced at third Mizukige in surprise. Seconded. The choice of third Mizukige seems to have played a leading role, and the third Tsuchikage next to him, the 2 Scales Onaji, also spoke out, agreeing with third Mizukige's point of view. Onoki has already understood what third Reikage thinks, and knows that he wants to suppress the Fire Nation through Ishida's house. 897. Although they really want to see the Nation of Fire suppressed, they also don't want the Nation of Thunder to be the next existence to suppress them. As the words of third Tsuchikage fell, the result was obvious, and second Kazekage didn't have to speak at all. All of a sudden, many people looked at Ishida Sorikari. After all, many people know that the Nation of Fire does not want its neighbor to rise. It's just that in the eyes of everyone, as the protagonist, Ishida Xinkai is still an old god at this moment, and he doesn't seem to be influenced by the crowd. It seems like a simple bystander. What the hell is this guy trying to do? It's time for the 5 great nations to decide the fate of the Ishida family, and this guy is not nervous at all. Looking at the appearance of Ishida Sorikari, the minister of Yuno country frowned and whispered secretly. Who knows? Maybe it's just a strong outsider, or in other words, the Ishida family has already defected to the Kingdom of Thunder and become the minions of the Kingdom of Thunder. The luxuriously dressed man next to him was also a little strange. He frowned subconsciously and said he really couldn't understand. Apart from this, who else could be so indifferent to the family's future in front of the 5 great powers at war? 97. Third Reikage also glanced in the direction of Ishida Sakari and found that Ishida Sakari didn't seem to care about the current discussions of the 5 major powers, and his expression sank. Originally, he still had some appreciation for the owner of the Ishida family, and he was very optimistic about the future prospects of the Ishida family. He even hoped that the Ishida family would be tougher. But seeing Ishida Sorikari like this, I'm afraid that this guy wouldn't even dare to refute what the Fire Nation said. For a while, Third Reikage actually began to show no confidence in Ishida Sorikari. Facing those questioning or disappointed eyes, Ishida Sorikari sneered in his heart. However, he didn't intend to make a sound at all. He wanted to see what the Kingdom of Fire wanted to do. Sarutobi Hiruzen received the support of third Tsuchikage and third Mizukige, and naturally gained the full strength to speak first. Afterwards, Sarutobi Hiruzen set his sights on Ishida Sakari, and when he saw Ishida Sakari as if he had given up on himself, he sneered in his heart. Taian's Higuo has been established for decades and has never suffered from war. And the Ishida family, as the ninja family of the Tianji Kingdom, made a comeback, destroyed the peace of the Tianji Kingdom for nearly 100 years, and even overthrew the peaceful rule of the Tianji Kingdom, and finally even slaughtered all the nobles in the Tianji Kingdom. Sarutobi Hiruzen narrowed his eyes and began to accuse Ishida's family of serious crimes word by word. These crimes are nothing to the people of Tianjigua, but the nobles present are different after hearing it. No one cared about Sarutobi Hiruzen's first half sentence, but the second half of the sentence pierced into the hearts of everyone present. Those who can come here to participate in the World United Conference are naturally the ministers of various countries, and the representatives are also nobles from various countries. After being reminded by Sarutobi Hiruzen, people remembered that the atrocities committed by the Ishida family in Tanakuni had violated the rights and interests of all nobles in the world. Oops. 1 inch looking at the nobles off the field, looking at Ishida Sorikari with startled and angry eyes. Third Reikage also said badly in his heart. He originally thought that the Ishida family's surrender to the Iron Country had already made those nobles forget what the Ishida family did in the Tian Country, but he didn't expect to be mentioned again by Sarutobi Hiruzen today, making those people all remember. Everyone knows that the power of the Wei clan is extremely powerful. Nobles exist in every country, and they are still part of the people who hold absolute power and force. Even the 5 major countries and the country of Iron are no exception. The rights of the nobles are something that every country must guarantee in order to consolidate the notice. Otherwise, the Temple of Fire would not expel the gods comparable to elite Jōnin just because of a mere noble. Although there are contradictions and disputes in all countries, the rights and interests of nobles will not be affected. Even if the country is destroyed, those nobles are still nobles and are recognized by all countries in the world. As long as you have money, your status as a noble can be guaranteed. Advertisement, however, the rise of the Ishida family has completely changed the status of the nobles and affected the interests of the nobles. Although it does not affect their own country, other countries will definitely boycott the Ishida family in order to ensure the rights of all nobles. In an instant, because of Sarutobi Hiruzen's reminder, the nobles who originally had good intentions towards the Ishida family also began to fight against each other. Sarutobi Hiruzen watched the eyes of the people below become repulsive. His diversion of disasters to the east has been successful. As long as there are these nobles, no country will be willing to recognize the status of the Ishida family. Without national identity, the Ishida family can only be an Ishida family and will never be on the stage. Moreover, now that the Ishida family has become the public enemy of the nobles, even Third Reikage would not speak of the Ishida family at this time. It seems that the Ishida family's calculations are wrong. Seeing this, the minister of Tang country below couldn't help shaking his head. Although he is also an aristocrat, he also began to reject the Ishida family, but he did not dare to show it. After all, the country of Tang is on the side of the country of Tian. If the Ishida family is violent, their entire country of Tang will definitely not be able to support other countries. Support. The ones who really gritted their teeth at Ishida's family were all countries that were incompatible with Tanakuni, small countries that were close to Tanakuni, and none of them dared to attract Ishida Sorikari's attention. What a way to borrow a knife to kill someone. Being stared at by so many people, Ishida Sorikari finally spoke out. First of all, there was a burst of piercing laughter and calm words, which made the scene instantly quiet. It's a word he heard from his grandfather when he was a kid, and he feels it's perfect for Sarutobi Hiruzen now. Hearing Ishida Sorikari's words, Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't move, but his eyes were slightly dazzled, and he glanced at Ishida Sorikari. Ishida Sora, none of the countries present are willing to recognize the status of your Ishida family. Unless you donate your own head and apologize to all the nobles, otherwise, the country will not recognize your Ishida family status. Now that his face has been torn apart, Sarutobi Hiruzen of course will not be cowardly, and said directly, no matter what, he will never allow the rise of the Ishida family to threaten the nation of fire and Konoha. Listening to Sarutobi Hiruzen's words, the eyes of the nobles below suddenly became deep. They have to say that Sarutobi Hiruzen's move is cruel enough. If the Ishida family wants to be recognized by all countries, they must sacrifice their own patriarch. If you don't do it, it won't be long before the entire Akita family will fall apart. In an instant, the ministers of the following countries equated Sarutobi Hiruzen with werewolves. Why is this plot so familiar? Ishida Xinkai understood the situation of the venue with the help of the ancestral cage, and said thoughtfully, at the same time. The figure of the Hyuga family appeared in his mind afterwards. Ishida Xinkai narrowed his eyes and said to himself, "Slap me down? Ridiculous." As soon as Sarutobi Hiruzen finished speaking, Ishida Sorikari immediately sneered and stood up. Why do you need to acknowledge the status of my Ishida family? Ishida Sorikari's thick voice resounded instantly. Then Ishida Sorikari's eyes turned blood red, staring at Sarutobi Hiruzen, and began to spin rapidly. From now on, I, the Ishida family, declare war on the land of fire. 98. Ishida Sorikari's words were clearly heard by everyone in the venue. Everyone's expression changed. Some of the ministers of the following countries stood up directly and looked at Ishida Sora in astonishment. Even the maid who was serving at the side was frightened and hurriedly backed away, as if she didn't dare to have any relationship with Ishida Sorikari. Suddenly, the atmosphere in the venue became extremely delicate. You said your Ishida family is going to declare war on the nation of fire? Third Hokage also raised his head, staring at Ishida Dong coldly, his eyes full of killing intent. Several other shadows, including Third Reikage, also suddenly raised their heads to stare at Ishida Sora. Except for Third Reikage, there was a flash of disdain in the eyes of everyone else. Patriarch Ishida, are you feeling unwell? Mitsui Sho secretly poked Ishida Sora. He didn't want Tindu Prefecture to become a battlefield for all countries because of this guy. Crazy. This Ishida Patriarch is a lunatic. How can you say such things here? The minister of Tang Country kept shaking his head, and several countries that were closer to Tian Country and Iron Country also had cold sweat on their foreheads. In their view, Ishida's family is courting death. The Land of Fire is the most powerful 523 country among the 5 major powers. Even the other 4 major powers dare not easily confront it head-on. The Ishida family actually declared war on the Land of Fire with such great fanfare. However, as a country next to the country of Tian, if the Ishida family is really struggling to die before the sanctions of the country of Fire, then the country of Tang will definitely be the first to suffer. The Patriarch Ishida is still impatient. And he is so young that third Hokage provoked him to declare war on the Nation of Fire with just a few words. The luxuriously dressed man beside Tang Jigua couldn't help shaking his head. That person is also a big chaebol, almost monopolizing half of the shipping in the ninja world. Although he is not from Hangzhou Island, he can still have a certain right to speak in Hangzhou Island. As a businessman, he sees it from Ishida Xinkai. It's all whimsical when it arrives. Third Hokage stared at Ishida Sorikari with cold eyes. After losing so many people in Ishida's house, he already wanted to level up Ishida's house, but he didn't expect this guy to be so proactive. If Patriarch Ishida is willing to sacrifice your own head to make amends, I can pretend you didn't say anything just now. Third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen said indifferently. He knew it was impossible, but he just wanted to lure the hot-headed Ishida Patriarch into his trap step by step. The third Raikage next to him no longer looked at Ishida Sorikari. In his opinion, since the shadows of several other villages supported third Hokage just now, the Ishida family has no use value. The Kingdom of Thunder will never support a powerful family that may threaten itself. Hee. Ishida Sorikari didn't speak, just chuckled, and got up to leave. You wanna die? Advertisement. Seeing Ishida Sakari being so dismissive, Sarutobi Hiruzen's complexion suddenly sank, and a guard with a mustache next to Sarutobi Hiruzen pinched out his handprints instantly, and the dark shadow under his feet seemed to come alive, and quickly moved towards Ishida Sakari. Rushed over. But before the black shadow touched Ishida Sora suddenly stopped and turned around. Ishida Sakari's eyes turned into Sharingan, and he looked at the person, only to see that Konoha's bodyguard trembled, and the shadow attacking Ishida Sakari stopped instantly. Dear Chung? Illusion. Third Hokage noticed the change of the guard. Narashikari next to him let out a cry, and put his hand on Narashikari's arm at the same time, disrupted Narashikari's chakra with chakra, and released the illusion. But even though he was freed from the illusion, Naraluching's face was a little, pale, and the chakra in his body was also extremely unstable. If there was no help from the illusion just now, it would be difficult for him to escape. Sarutobi Hiruzen stood up, patted Narashikanari on the shoulder, and then looked at Ishida Sakari. As expected of Sharingan's illusion, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Ishida Sorikari coldly and said, Sharingan? Listening to Sarutobi Hiruzen's words, the expressions of all the shadows who were still a little curious about Ishida Sorikari's eyes changed. They had been wondering whether the eyes of the Patriarch Ishida were Sharingan, but they didn't expect it to be. And it's still the same Sharingan as Uchiha Madara back then. Second Kazekage Samama next to him interjected, making everyone's breath even more short. Uchiha Madara and first Hokage Senju Hashirama were definitely two god-tier words in the human world decades ago, and Uchiha Madara's weird pair of Sharingan is regarded as a legend by the Uchiha family, and people in other countries are also very jealous. I didn't expect that there was a pair in front of me. Sharingan is more than just being able to watch the enemy's movements chakra and release Susanoo. In terms of illusions, the illusions released by Sharingan are much more powerful than ordinary ones, and can even control tailed beasts. In the beginning, Uchiha Madara controlled 9 tails to fight for himself. However, compared to Uchiha Madara, you are far behind. Sarutobi Hiruzen has seen Uchiha Madara, and Uchiha Madara is naturally a powerful representative in his mind, but the Ishida Xinkai in front of him is far from Uchiha Madara. After speaking, Sarutobi Hiruzen rushed over directly, and was about to attack Ishida Sora. But at this moment, a figure appeared next to him, and then a blood light cut down towards Sarutobi Hiruzen from the side. What? Sarutobi Hiruzen felt the powerful sword in tint above, and suddenly felt a strong crisis in his heart. Without hesitation, Sarutobi Hiruzen stopped his figure and flew back to the base of the wall before stabilizing. But when the blood glow swept across, a huge sword glow shot out directly, cutting through the wall of the gymnasium, leaving a huge sword mark, and the road outside was also melted into a gap. For a moment, everyone present was stunned, and Sarutobi Hiruzen was even more frightened. If he insisted on attacking Ishida Xinkai just now, the sword energy might be cut on him. The sword master of the Iron Country. Looking at the figure who launched the attack, someone below suddenly exclaimed, 99. Iron Country Sword Master? Hearing the yelling below, everyone's expression changed immediately. The sword master of the country of Iron has now spread all over the world, and no one knows the sword master who broke through the capital of the country of Iron with a single sword. I didn't expect to come to Tindu Mansion. Among the nobles present, there were many martial arts masters. Each of them looked at the figure of Yui Changtsuan, with fiery eyes in their eyes. After all, it has always been recognized in the world that the ninja has the most destructive power in the world. Who would have thought that Hiwei, the most holy sword, is as powerful as any ninja? Now Yui Chingtsuan can be said to be a model for warriors from all over the world, and countless people hope to get the guidance of this sword master. And Mitsui Sho's face was a little pale at this time. The defensive power of the city walls and barriers of Tiandafu does not need to be weaker than the Iron Kingdom, but this is inside the city. If the other party comes to attack the city with the same means as when they attacked the Iron Kingdom, I am afraid that half of Tiandafu will be destroyed. Flatten. Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart sank at this time. He didn't expect the Ishida family to bring a Kaga-level swordmaster. Do you think that with a Kaga-level swordmaster, you can walk out of Hongzhou Island safely? Sarutobi Hiruzen gritted his teeth and asked with a gloomy expression. In the distance, several other shadows also stood up. Now that the Ishida family is showing strength, it is obvious that they want to share a share among the 5 major countries, and the other countries are naturally unwilling. All of a sudden, many masters stared at Ishida Sora, but Ishida Sora is still taking his time. Third Hokage, maybe you have misunderstood. Round background, my Ishida family is not weaker than any of your countries. With a sneer, Ishida Sorakari said something. Whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, dozens of first-level battle spirits appeared out of nowhere, directly surrounded the entire gym, performed ninjutsu, and looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with a sullen expression. The ninja outfits agreed, all embroidered with the Ishida family crest, the bellflower flower, on their arms. Obviously, these ninjas belong to the Ishida family. What? Seeing dozens of ninjas appearing, and judging from their posture, it is very likely that they are all Jōnin, which really shocked everyone present. So many ninjas. Could it be that the Ishida family has already expected this, so they made a lot of arrangements in advance? Looking at those ninjas, the princes and ministers of the countries below were all extremely nervous, and they couldn't help guessing in their hearts. While shocked that the Ishida family hides such a huge power, they also have some doubts about how the Ishida family accumulated it. However, as the host of the 5-Nation Conference, Mitsui Sho was extremely nervous. How did they get in? At this time, Mitsui Sho's face was as pale as paper, and now his mind was full of questions. He really couldn't understand me. Where did these ninjas appear from? Third Hokage, are you going to fight here now? Ishida Sorakari looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen in front of him with a cold face, and asked unhurriedly. Advertisement: there are more than 70 Jōnin war spirits, plus a Kaga-level swordmaster. Even a Kaga-level might have to be on the spot. The 4 Kaga-levels in the distance all sat down. They knew that it was impossible to fight, but the princes and ministers below did not understand this, and all of them looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen nervously. Because once Sarutobi Hiruzen wants to go to war, I am afraid that none of the nobles present will be able to go out safely. Crazy. The Ishida family is really crazy. The body of the minister of Yonokuni trembled a little. Looking at the calm and composed Ishida Sora, he glanced at the Ishida family ninjas who were ready to slaughter here at any time, and said a little depressed. This time, the luxurious shipping merchant next to him did not speak again. He even lowered his head, for fear of being noticed. The reason why he ridiculed the Ishida family just now was that he suspected that the Ishida family had the background to compete with the big powers. Of course, it is only suspicion, and it is also because the 5 major powers can suppress the Ishida patriarch, and he is safe. But it's different now. Because the Ishida family really dare to confront the Fire Nation head-on, even on this Hongzhou Island, they will definitely not fall behind. This made him dare not say a word. If he annoyed the Ishida family, he might be killed by the ninja next to him immediately. 0. Begging for flowers. And those nobles thought the same way. Originally, they were confident. But now that the knife is hanging around the neck, who dares to speak of Ishida's family? Even some people are already regretting. If they had known about it, they would have looked at the situation more. Who would have thought that the Ishida family would be so ruthless, and so many ninjas would be lurking around? But at this time, Wu Ying was also surprised. They can become the shadow of a village, so they are naturally on guard. Just now, whether it was the Kaga-level sword master or the uniformed ninjas, they didn't feel rich, as if it appeared out of thin air. The people of this Ishida family are extremely good at disguising, and they can even block their own aura. No wonder they have been dormant for so many years. 0 for a moment, such a thought flashed through everyone's mind, and Third Raikage even recalled how he felt when he was at Ishida's house. He always suspected that if he was about to get violent at Ishida's house at that time, I'm afraid it really wouldn't be easy. Because the Shuanglong Phantom Sword in Yui Chengsuen's hands has been unsheathed, it has been continuously depriving the vitality of everyone in the gymnasium, and some weaker nobles even have difficulty breathing. Ordinary people didn't suspect Hagoromo's weapon, they just felt that the atmosphere was rather depressing, but Gakage could feel it clearly. If the stalemate continued like this, it would only benefit the Ishida family. At this moment, the 5 shadows have their own thoughts, and Sarutobi Hiruzen is not sure whether the other 4 shadows will help him, and the eyes of the princes and nobles around him already want to eat him. It was a mistake. Hee. Konoha attacked my Ishida's house again and again. Do you really think I don't know? If you have many ninjas, just keep coming. Ishida Sorikari sneered, then turned and left. Looking at the back of Ishida Sora and sighing, Sarutobi Hiruzen gave up the posture of fighting. For a moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen seemed to be a few years older. Wu Ying didn't speak at all, but he was doubting in his heart, wondering if he would regret not making a move today in the future. 100. After Ishida Sorikari swaggered out of the city, those war spirits also left the gymnasium under the leadership of Chengsu and Yui. No one pursued, even the 5 Kages. Now there are too many princes and nobles from all over the world in Tiandifu. Once a large-scale battle occurs here, the Kingdom of Fire will become the target of criticism from all over the world. The other 4 shadows looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen sympathetically. Sarutobi Hiruzen alone is definitely not the opponent of so many people in the Ishida family. Although they don't want the Ishida family to grow stronger, but if they help, if there are casualties at that time, it will be their responsibility. Be clean. It is precisely because of this that the shadows and ninjas from other countries did not do anything just now. After all, August 17th, no country or movie is willing to make enemies with the whole world. Besides, the opponent has a Kage-level juggernaut and so many ninjas. Even, the long sword in the hand of the samurai who has been following the patriarch Ishida has always given them a dangerous atmosphere. It is thankless, and you may lose your life. Even if you don't want to see the rise of the Ishida family, but no one would foolishly help Sarutobi Hiruzen fight the Fire Nation at such a time. Seeing that there was no battle, the ministers and nobles from all over the world were relieved. Especially Mitsui Sho, who slumped on a chair as if he had collapsed. After all, the Tindu mansion has poured all of his Mitsui family's hard work into it. If it is really smashed, the Mitsui family will bleed profusely. All the nobles and the Mitsui family were happy to see that no battle took place. Although the result might not be very friendly to the 5 major powers, this is no longer something they can consider. It is enough for them to be safe and sound. After Ishida Kongsari and Ishida Dadong left the gymnasium, they left Tiandifu directly. During the period, there were ninjas following them, but after they were all dealt with by Yui Chengsuan who followed up directly, there was no movement. Afterwards, the battle spirits were recalled by Ishida Xinkai. After all, Yui Chengsuan was still needed to sit in the Iron Country, and the first-level battle spirits also returned to the Ancestral Guardian Hall, waiting to be summoned next time, and Ishida Konkari and Ishida Dadong also successfully boarded the boat leaving Hangzhou Island. The two stood on the side of the boat, both silent, but Ishida Dadong looked at Ishida Sora with some curiosity. "Master, the boat has moved." After hesitating for a while, Ishida Dadong reminded aloud. Hearing Ishida Dadong's words, Ishida Sorikari did not hesitate. His eyes entered the Mangekyo Sharingan mode again, and at the same time, the left pupil shrank, and the right pupil also began to rotate rapidly immediately afterwards. A dark purple flame appeared on Ishida Sorikari's hand, forming a short bow with 10 arrows burning with black flames dangling on it. Ishida Konkari did not hesitate, and directly said that the short bow was fully drawn, and the arrow on it flew out in an instant with the release of the second hand finger, and disappeared towards the port of Hangzhou Island. At this time, everyone in the gymnasium has been evacuated. Wu Ying didn't stay too long, and left the gymnasium one after another, and went to their respective courtyards, ready to pack up and leave. Advertisement back at the small courtyard arranged by Mitsui's house for Fire Country. Nara Shikamaru immediately blushed and spit out a mouthful of blood. Seeing that Nara was injured, Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression froze. "Lu Chung, how are you doing?" Sarutobi Hiruzen remembered the illusion released by Ishida Sora with Sharingan just now, and immediately guessed that Nara had been disrupted by Chakra when breaking through the illusion just now, and was traumatized, and has endured until now. No big deal. Taking a deep breath and wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Nara Luching said weakly. At this time, he was still a little scared. If he hadn't held back just now, even if the Ishida family didn't do something, I'm afraid the big circles wouldn't let them leave easily. The relationship between the 5 major countries is extremely complicated. Facing the rise of the Ishida family, the 5 major countries can share the same hatred. But once they have the opportunity, they will not hesitate to wave the bitterness to others. As a ninja from Konoha, the land of fire, Nara Shikamaru knows very well that the so-called peace is only based on the temporary delimitation of interests by the 5 major powers. If there is something that breaks the balance, the peace agreement between the 5 major powers is a piece of paper blank paper zero.
It's fine.
Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. Konoha had already lost a lot of ninjas in several raids on Ishida's house. He didn't want Nara Shikari to have anything else. At this time, an Umbu ninja wearing a mask walked in. Report Master Hokage, we are here and found traces of the ninja activities of the Uchiha clan. According to clues and guesses, the people of the Uchiha clan should have attacked the head of the Ishida family last night. We found Uchiha in the small courtyard of the Ishida family. The bodies of the head of the clan, Uchiha Tomita, and several Uchiha ninjas. And, except for Uchiha Tomita's blindness, the Sharingan of those corpses have been taken away. After a pause, the ninja continued. Uchiha clan? Hearing the ninja's report, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Nara Shikamaru glanced at each other, and their hearts sank. They guessed why the Uchiha clan would do this. Thinking of the ninjas arranged by Ishida's family today, they can be sure that the Uchiha clan has definitely suffered heavy losses. It seems that the Ishida family is really not to be underestimated. 4.0 taking a deep breath, Sarutobi Hiruzen said solemnly. At this moment, Yen Luo's soul-chasing arrow rushed in, heading straight towards Sarutobi Hiruzen. Master Hokage, be careful, Nara Luching and Umbu Ninja exclaimed at the same time. They moved towards the arrow, but were bypassed by the arrow. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the arrow and guessed something instantly, and directly raised his hand to block it. The arrow pierced Sarutobi Hiruzen's palm smoothly, and then turned into countless tadpole-like runes. Shwa. The moment the rune just appeared, Sarutobi Hiruzen directly broke his own arm. The intense pain made Sarutobi Hiruzen's face turn pale, and then his face became more and more gloomy. The Ishida family must be erased.
Thanks for watching. You can find the next videos in the playlist linked in the info card, directly on my channel, or right here on the screen. And as always, if you have any feedback, feel free to share it in the comments too.